What a show we got for you guys tonight. Very excited. Outstanding panel we have tonight, guys. We were just talking behind the scenes just about gaming, some of the topics that have been hot over the past 7 days, things that are in the news, the media, and everybody on the panel is ready to go. I can promise you guys that. Please take a second, guys. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. We're over the 12,000 mark here. Means the world to me. And, you know, I was thinking, and this show might dictate that, but I think we're going to go ahead and I'm going to try over this holiday weekend to put together a 5-10 minute review of Hellblade 2, my thoughts on it. After I get a chance to complete it with this week here, and of course streaming over on twitch.tv. Here's a shameless plug for myself. We're over at twitch.tv. Same thing here, Mooch TV, M00CH, drop the O's for zeros. We're over there, and we are on the path to the Elden Ring DLC. So we have been trucking through there. The great Sin Vendetta. Shout out to Sin Vendetta. Shout out to the great Blaze 4K. These guys have been joining me on the path. They've beaten the game. They know the game inside and out. It's been a lot of fun. So after the show, please go over to twitch.tv. Again, same as you're following here. Go over and follow over on Twitch. It's going to be a great weekend. We've got a lot of Elden Ring coming your way. I was going to stream Hellblade 2, but I did a poll, and it just seems like a lot of people feel like Hellblade 2, even though it did have decent numbers on Twitch this weekend, I really do think that that's a game that's experienced better, individually. I don't know if necessarily watching someone go through that is something that you guys would care for. That being said, I also have a lot of gameplay, so I didn't get really in-depth into Hellblade 2 myself. I actually beat Hellblade 1 back on Xbox when it came to Xbox a while ago. And I'm going through and I'm trying to get the platinum for Hellblade 1 on PlayStation, and then I'm going to go through this weekend and play Hellblade 2 and complete that, hopefully to 1,000% on Xbox. So tonight, guys, I don't have any spoilers as far as footage. Everything you're going to see Hellblade, I decided to make video clips of Hellblade 1. So we just have Hellblade 1 playing in the background while we have our discussion on it. That way there's absolutely no spoilers at all. You don't have to worry about, oh my God, I didn't play yet. I can't believe it. Now I'm seeing the You're not going to see any Hellblade 2 footage on screen today or tonight, or if you're listening later. That being said, guys, again, please hit that like button. Tweet it out. Tell people on social media that we are live here in New York. It's going to be a great show. And if you look at that outstanding description right there, right above that is the join button. And the channel has literally blown up with members. I can't say thank you enough. We're over 100 members. It means the world to me. Shout out to, again, to Spree Lotus. I want to say a shout out to, and also Mash. Hopefully Mash joins us in a little bit as well. Great when Mash joins us in the chat. Always donating 20, 30 members a week. It's just unbelievable. I can't say thanks enough to those guys. And for all you guys out there with green name tags in the chat, we see you. You are part of the family. So I'm not going to go one by one through the name. Otherwise, literally 25 minutes would be just calling all the names up. But I want to say I thank you all so very, very much. That being said, let's get to this amazing panel. We've got 12 topics. We're probably going to hit 4 of them if we're lucky. Nonetheless, he's been extremely vocal on social media recently. His channel's blowing up. He keeps on getting more platinums. And the only thing I can say that's bad is he's a Pacers fan. Other than that, the great Detective Seeds is back on the show. Seeds, how the hell you doing tonight, buddy?
Oh, I'm good, man. I'm good. That was good. Yeah, hopefully we can get a win against Boston tonight, because the other night we just kind of handed it to him in the last 10 seconds. So, yeah, man, it's good to be back. Good to finally feel better and not be puking my guts out. So I was on with BRAP for a little bit last night when I got back in town. So really good panel. Some of the guys on here I've never been on a podcast with before. So I look forward to talking games. And as always, it's good to see you chat. All you beautiful people in the chat. Well, most of you are beautiful. Some of you guys are ugly. But yeah, look forward to chopping it up, man.
Great to have you, Seeds. And I do appreciate you trucking through last week. I know you weren't feeling well, buddy, but to come out and do the show the way you did just shows how much of a professional you are. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Listen, guys, I do have to give a shout out here. The great Jay Bari is with us tonight. You guys know him, and as well as the great Persona. They do What's Up PlayStation, 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturday mornings. That's how I start my Saturday. It's how I recommend you guys start yours as well. The great Jay Bari's back on the show. And Jay, there couldn't have been a better week for me to get you on. Jay, welcome back to Crossfire. How you doing tonight, buddy?
Yo, what is good, guys? Man, Mooch, I appreciate the invite. It's a very interesting week. As we are closing in on, the Summer Games Fest show and on the Microsoft show. I just need you, Mooch, to I want you to limit your Xbox talk here.
Yes.
Listen, cut it out, Mooch. Okay. But nah, man, appreciate it. The invite. It's going to be a good one. Make sure you hit the like button and share the stream. I'll get the people in here, and hope you all enjoy.
Well, speaking of Xbox, we can't talk Xbox without the great Death Singer. Death Singer was with us last week, and it was great because Singer gave us a good perspective last week into what we were going to expect from Hellblade 2. He had some early sightings of it. He got to see some gameplay before any of us did, which I truly appreciate him coming on and giving his opinion on. Now we get to actually talk about what his experiences were himself, as well as the rest of the panel, and then we're going to get into a little bit of what the media thinks. But Singer, as always, welcome back to Crossfire, buddy. Great to have you with us tonight. How you doing?
It's a pleasure to be back, Mooch. We have a great panel. And although lay a little bit off the Xbox thing, I'm a PC guy now. I don't associate with that over there too much. So,
Well, it's funny you say that, Singer, because I'm noticing a lot of people that follow me on Twitter, X now, and even in the chat here. A lot of Xbox guys, and this, I'm not saying you, Singer, but a lot of Xbox guys, they're PC guys now. And you remember
PC guys before it was cool.
Yes, you were. Yes, you were, Singer. Absolutely. Absolutely. You guys remember the old slogan? We said it a long time ago. We'll say it again. PC is Xbox. Xbox is PC. We've been saying that for a long time, Singer. I mean, do you agree?
I mean, all your games belong to me. So, and soon all the PlayStation games will belong to me.
Easy there, Singer.
Easy.
Well,
so,
He's manifesting, guys. He's manifesting.
Great to have the great Death Singer with us, guys. He is a great dynamic to the show. Singer, great to have you with us tonight. Speaking of great to have with us again, the great WoolleyGamer is back. And Wooly, listen, you sent out many apologies. You do not have to apologize. You're in the UK. It is legitimately midnight over there. I can completely understand after a long day's work. Then you come home, you've got the family, you're taking care of the kid, and then you play some games, and you took a nap. You fell asleep. That's what people do at midnight. So it's not your fault.
I'm getting old, Mooch. I'm getting old. I'm 31 now, bro. I'm 31. Oh, my goodness.
Listen, the great WoolleyGamer is back with us. Wooly, and tonight's a great night that you are on the show versus even a week or two ago, because to be honest with you, Wooly, you made some great tweets over the last 48 hours, 72 hours, and they really kind of hit home on a lot of our topics. But Wooly, how you doing?
Oh, mate, honestly, every accolade from you is a treasure, honestly, Mooch. I'm very honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me. It's like royalty getting invited by Mooch. I was a fan. I was a fan way before I made my first YouTube video, and all them years ago, man. Where does time go? Can you believe it's been like 6 years, 5 years? It's crazy. Before the Bethesda acquisition, man. It's
been crazy. It certainly has.
It's been a roller coaster, man. But I'm so happy to be here. And can I just say I am absolutely buzzing. I've got a smile from ear to ear to be on a show with my boy Kofi. It's just me and Kofi. We were on the Saltya Gaming podcast together for years together, and I love this guy so much, man. Just to be rocking with you on, and just on this show tonight with you, man. It's a blast from the past, and it's awesome. So.
Well, listen, I can't thank Wooly enough for the also for the great compliments. Thank you so much, Wooly. I appreciate that so much. Love doing podcasting. Always wanted to do sports radio. That didn't work out, but you know what? I'll do gaming radio with no problem at all. But you gave a great segue to our other panel member. The great creative Kofi is back with us again. And Kofi, outstanding to have you. You bring another dynamic of how you do your gaming, where you order your games from, how you play your games, and it is different from pretty much anybody I have ever had on the show. So it's always a treat to have you on. Kofi, how you doing this evening?
I am doing fantastic. I really feel blessed just to be here with Wooly, to be here with you, Jay Barry. Been listening to you for a long time as well. A lot of you guys here have inspired me to even, participate in this wonderful gaming sphere that we've kind of, all celebrated. So I really feel humbled and, glad to talk about these topics. We got a lot of interesting things to talk about.
Absolutely. Without further ado, guys, we'll get into it. Guys, remember, BRAP is going to try and make it second hour. Hopefully, if BRAP's listening, BRAP, we miss you, buddy. Come on over to the show. And we may even have another surprise guest second hour as well. We'll see if timing works out for that. Let's get into it.
Is BRAP a panel member here?
He is, but this is just the way it is, right? He's got a baseball. He's got baseball. That's all I can say. He's got baseball with family, and I know that all too well. So you know what? If the games are going, I respect
he trying to
that.
say that the baseball game is more important than being on Crossfire?
Well, listen, when it comes to family first, Jay Barry. You know that more than anybody. The great Jay Barry, everybody.
I got you.
Hey, Luke, I wanted to point something out real quick. We almost got the United Kingdom in here. Because we've got me from Wales,
yes.
Woody from England,
yes.
Solid Merc in the chat from Scotland.
Yes.
Where's the Irishman?
Right. Well, Seeds might be Irish, even though he's in Indiana.
You need retro in here.
Yeah, there we go.
I drink Irish whiskey. Does that count?
Yes. But honorary member Seeds at least.
Yep, that's right.
Let's get into it, guys. We've got a great subject here to start with. And I'm going to let Singer take a second here because I want to hear what he has to say, but I want to go to the great Jay Barry, put Jay Barry on the hot seat first here. So Hellblade 2, I say here, receives kind of, and I say mediocre scores. That doesn't mean bad by no means. But the scores from Metacritic, Jay, say one thing, and we'll talk about those. But then there's been a lot of influencers that are definitely pro Xbox channels that have come out and made some serious comments about Hellblade 2 and how they were a little bit disappointed in maybe how the combat didn't evolve. They thought, of course, the game looks amazing. I think we could say that 100 times and it's still not enough at how great the game looks, but how it plays and keeping gamers engaged. Jay, just a little bit from you on your take on your playthrough of Hellblade 2, because I really want to get your take, because Singer already kind of saw it a bit last week, and then we're going to go into Singer right after that.
I think Hellblade 2 is a alright, okay game, but it's not the sequel that I waited all these years for. I don't think it really evolves the series at all. Like graphically, it's a showpiece. It is something to marvel at. The sound is great as well. And I'm more inclined to talk about like, walking on the terrain and how each terrain, sounds different. I like that stuff, because that's that PlayStation fragrance. But overall, when it comes to the meat and potatoes of Hellblade 2, they didn't really evolve anything. They didn't really improve anything. I felt like the combat, they took a step back, in my opinion. The perspective, what they try to tell with the one-on-one, semi-cut scenes. Then you go to another one-on-one engagement. I didn't think that worked well for me personally. Hellblade 1 wasn't like the most mechanically sound, layered combat game, but it had more mechanics than Hellblade 2. You know what I mean? So they went back. They took away her melee attack. They took away a lot of the running attacks. They took away the dodge attacks where you can dodge an attack. It's just a much more slowed down, predictable combat. The game is fairly easy. Like the main settings was set to like dynamic. Default settings was dynamic, and I cranked it to hard, and I was like, I haven't died in the game to any enemy other than them fire dudes. The fire dudes are annoying, but the reason why it's more annoying is because how the perspective of the game is. You know what I mean? Like you can dodge it, but it's very hard to just like, okay, let me roll. This dude is already ready for attack, so you just gotta keep spamming the dodging and whatnot. But overall, the game was pretty easy. I felt like the puzzles took a step back as well. The exploration took a step back because one thing I liked about Hellblade 1, you had the choice which area you wanted to explore and go through to fight an actual boss. That's another thing. There's no real bosses in this game. You had the first dude that you had to fight. I'm not going to say no names and go into story. And then there's the last person that you got to fight. It's the same kind of fight. The same type of ordeal, the same type of, watch out for this attack. If you see a red flash, you just dodge. You know what I mean? Whatever you get to try to get a perfect block and go for a perfect, counter attack. But it wasn't nothing really like, oh, this is challenging, or, oh, this fight is set apart from this fight because this mechanic was doing, or this boss did this specific thing. It wasn't any of that with Hellblade 2, and Hellblade 1 had that because you had like the Raven boss, you had the Serta giant, the fire dude.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. There was memorable and unique moments in Hellblade 1, and one of my favorite one was when you was going across the bridge to get into to hell, and there was sending waves of enemy at you. And the cool thing about Hellblade 1 is like it's not a one-on-one fight. You can fight 4 people, 5 people, 3 people, 2 people.
Yes.
And you have to be on your P's and Q's, and you actually listening to the voices like, oh, they're behind you. And you got to turn around. And,
yes.
You know what I mean? It was a challenging experience.
So good,
this game is just on rails. And I'm not trying to shit on it because I was anticipating it. And just playing it, I'm just like, nah, this is not the sequel. And like personally, I feel like anybody that's rating this game like really high, I'm baffled. I'm confused because I'm like, it is a step back on every mechanical level outside of graphics. In this game, from the first game, the puzzles were lackluster. There was no real like, there's one puzzle I like with the whole spears, and it changes the world, like it flipped the world. I thought that was a really cool one. But it's just the same thing over and over and over. And by the end of the game, to be honest with you, I was like, I don't think I want to play this anymore. And it's a 5-6 hour game. I'm like, yeah, you know what? It's a short ass game, but I don't think I can go past 10 hours. I 1000%ed it in less than 9 hours, in 8.9 hours. So 9 hours pretty much, where I just took my time, walked slow, look around as far as the environment, because they got these little cool little face little things in there, and you got to be mindful of your surroundings with that. But it wasn't a leap up that I wanted from the prequel. And the last thing I'm gonna shut up because I know I'm talking too much. I got really annoyed at Senua in this game because the first game she pretty much overcame the furies in her head where she's empowered. You know what I mean? She's not letting them control or letting them cast doubt upon her and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you ended off strong. Yeah, the second game, Senna was she's gonna be that chick. She's gonna be in control of things. Right from the start again, boom. Oh, and these voices is just so much now. Like the first time it worked, in my opinion, because it was like more of a struggle. But this one is just more just like you just talking too much. Just, yap. I was like, oh, does he know? Oh my God, does he know? Does he see it? And I was just like, yo, relax, calm down. I get it. I understand it. There's some psychosis stuff going on. But didn't we overcame that? And there's a specific voice that you did overcome in the first game. And it's back in this game. Some of the story elements I felt like was cool, but some of them was really confusing because I'm like, what was the point of ending the first game if you're just going to do this over again? Yeah. And then you wait to the end of this game to show, she overcame it again. Let me shut up, man.
No, Jay, it's amazing, Barry. It's amazing, bro, that you were able to deliver an absolute love letter to Hellblade 1, which and really do Hellblade justice as an avid fan. And I the first game is, it's easily in my top 10 PS4 games of all time. I cried my heart out at the end. I loved it so much. It's one of the best games ever to experience. I've not yet played the sequel, but everything that you've described, man, like I'm pretty sure I can speak for everyone here. We can tell that criticism is coming from a sincere place because you really did the first game justice in how you broke it all down and reminded people of what the first game did so well. So yeah.
Well, so let me do it. First of all, I want to welcome the great Eric Jackson to the show. Eric, welcome to the show, buddy. Great to have you here. I had a feeling with your activity the last 5 hours on Twitter, I said, I have a feeling the great Eric Jackson will be showing up tonight. I think he's got something to get off his chest. Eric, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm glad I could make it. I'm not sure how long I'll be able to stay, but I had to jump in because I knew you guys were going to be talking about Hellblade 2, and I just finished it earlier. Well, definitely Eric, at least wanted to get in and talk about that.
So, Eric, you being here, and actually shout out to the great K-Med, who's also here with us. Kay said, hey, Mooch, I'm just running a little bit late. I'll be here. So Kay's here as well. And it's great to have you and Kay here, because I'm actually going to go to you guys in a second here, because the thing is, shout out to God Emperor Sofa King in the chat. You know, he says, when Jay was just starting his description of Hellblade 2, he goes, so you're telling me it's basically a sequel. Got it. So God Emperor Sofa King, I understand what you mean by that comment, but no matter which game we're talking about, whether it be Gears of War 1 to 2, Last of Us 1 to Last of Us 2, we all want to see a progression, right? Something grow in the game that's amazing, that goes a step further. And in every single review that I've watched and people that I've spoke to in the community, even the ones that liked it feel like at best it stayed stagnant. It just kind of stayed right where one was at best. And they removed certain mechanics. Go ahead.
My bad, Mooch. I got to speak from the heart real quick, man, because I don't understand how with any other sequel out there in gaming, people want to see that level up, that progression in games.
Yeah.
I see this weird argument with, it's just more the same. I see other games getting cons and dinged because it's more of the same rather than evolving. Right. And with Hellblade 1 is not like a deep mechanical game combat-wise, the first game. And that's one of the things before part 2 came out. A lot of people were anticipating, it was like, they can improve on the combat. Microsoft owns them now. They can get a much bigger budget. They can improve on all these things. And it wasn't there. They went back on a lot of the gameplay elements on it. And I really and truly, I'm not even trying to shit on the game. You know what I mean? But when you're playing the game, there's a lot of cool elements in there. Don't get it twisted. But overall, is it a fun game? Do you like the mechanics? Is it repetitive? How is it repetitive in a 5 to 6 hour game, bro? It's not. It's a very dull experience.
That was a huge knock. That was a huge knock when the first game actually released, and it was like the console platform exclusive for PlayStation. That was what was said about it. It was a walking sim. It was the combat looked very repetitive, and everything else. And I'm like, so that was something I highlighted when I mentioned it on Twitter, and I kind of put like a quick little review out there. And as I wanted to jump in here too to kind of expand upon it, because my review looked like I was super, super favorable. And I don't hate the game. I'm sort of like where Bari is. I don't hate it because I love the Hellblade property. But there seems to be some revisionist history, at least on the Twitter side. I don't know what the casual side is doing, who's not involved with Twitter. But there's a bunch of revisionist history going on with this game right now. And I would also say there's a part of it that looks like platform defense and everything else. And I'm kind of like, man, it's kind of wild because there's a bunch of us out here who were rocking with Ninja Theory before they got acquired, know their capability, and I still stand with that. I still say they are an extremely capable and talented developer.
Absolutely.
I'm just trying to figure out how they expanded from 20 to 80 with the backing of Microsoft. And their first game feels like what should have been the sequel to this game.
Yeah, and Eric, I'm glad you said that. So, and the reason is because Eric, you gave it a very, very respectable rating. You said you enjoyed it. You were critical on Twitter, but you said you enjoyed it. K-Med, you came on the scene, and you've been very vocal as well, and you've been quite positive. Which K, come on, that's not even you, come on. I was like, where's the K-Med I know? No, but
hey, man, all right. So I'm only 2 hours in, okay? Yeah. So I've yet to reach the repetitive portion, which I'm sure I'll get there. I loved Hellblade. I played it on the PS4. Yep. I played it again on the Xbox. And I enjoy walking sims, okay? So going into that,
that's fair.
I will, that's going to be a +1 on any score that anyone else would give it, right? So the mechanics don't bother me. Jay Bari is like, he's a Souls dude, right? I mean, he likes that shit. So I could totally understand.
I play all type of game. Like I play walking sims as well, but the first game offered more than this game.
It did 100%.
That's not progress. I can't rate this game higher than the first game when there's more elements I enjoyed in the first game as far as gameplay stuff.
Yeah, and that's basically where I felt too, Bart.
Yeah, I do feel, that that first game had a good story, and I think this game has a weaker story, but I do feel like the atmosphere is better than the first game. I think they've really got that like tense, dark, again, desperate atmosphere in there. The talking can be a bit much, but I mean, those are the voices in her head. I kind of like the voices in the first one better, but it seems like she's progressed in a different direction, right, with that psychosis. And it is confusing. Like, did she regress on that? You know, we don't really know, kind of. We got that little backstory, right? But we don't know what's happened. You kind of just, you know, wake up on the ship and now you're getting, you know, revenge, right? Is kind of like the very beginning here. No spoilers. But I am enjoying the game. Do I wish... I think a lot of it, too, stems from, like, how much time we waited, right? And how much money they had and how much hype was behind it, right? And I think even if you can't put those out of your mind, like I know I can't, it's always back there. So the expectation, I think, was much greater, right, for a bigger, better game. Not necessarily longer, but you know, with better combat. Like it should have done everything a little better. And the fact that it doesn't do, it does very few things, you know, better, in my opinion, and I'm only 2 hours in. The ending's supposed to be great, I guess. I don't know. People are saying that it's good. But
yeah, I would say the last portion of the K is actually really the story beat on that is actually stronger than most of the game.
Yeah, so you know, like
I don't know if you agree with that, Bart.
I get those expectations, like people being disappointed about it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
If this was a first game, I think the view would be different, right? If this was Hellblade 1, you know, I think people would be like, "Oh, this is a good, solid foundation for something greater." But I cannot stop thinking about the Order 1886, right?
Yeah,
and I like that game.
I was going to bring that up.
You know, I really like that game. I like the story. I kind of like the world. The story was kind of weak, but the world was kind of cool, right? Kind of like comic book-esque. Yeah. And I wanted more out of that. But I enjoyed that game. And people, again, you know, with the revisionist history, cracks me up because it was, when I played it on the PS4, people were like, it's a fucking walking simulator, right? Like, oh, big deal. You swing a sword and you walk around and you solve puzzles. And of course, now they're championing it for, you know, being incredible and amazing. But it is essentially the same walking sim with better graphics and weaker mechanics, right? So, yeah, I'm still swayed. I think I'll come out of this game giving it like probably an 8 because, again, I like these types of games, the mind fuckery, the voices, the darkness. I'm just, you know, that kind of person. It's almost in that horror realm, right? Which I kind of enjoy. So. But I could see people giving it a 7, you know, and a 6. People giving it like a 3 or a 4. I'm gonna be like, that's kind of weird. But
yeah, because you kind of know
7. I get it
because you kind of know what you're walking into. And you know, Jay Barry, Kay, and Eric just really touched on something that I want to bring up, and it goes a little deeper than just the Metacritic score. And Singer, I'm going to ask you the question, but really, this is for the panel. You know, Singer, when you see how these gamers on the panel enjoyed the first one, and even how they're so tolerant to say, I wanted more. That's fine. Give me more Hellblade. That's fine. But Microsoft acquired these folks a while ago. And when you see that they got the new mocap studio, and they went from, guys, I'm making this number up, but they went from like 15 or 20 employees to 80 to 100. And you can't blame somebody for saying, I thought Hellblade 2 was going to take monstrous steps forward when you see the money, the time, the resources that were thrown at Ninja Theory. And then when you get a game that you're hearing people that are saying they enjoyed it. K-Med enjoyed it. He's enjoying what he's played so far. Eric enjoyed it, but it did feel like a step back. So, Singer, this is where my question comes to you. It's not necessarily about Ninja Theory and Hellblade 2. This is the problem I've had with Xbox leadership. Since they've taken over all of these teams and we're like, we're going to get bombarded with Xbox games. It's going to be Xbox games. So many, we're going to be drowning them and they're going to be amazing. And I'm like, where is that? I mean, Redfall didn't do well at all. Starfield didn't live up nearly to the hype of what it was supposed to be. That doesn't mean if you guys enjoyed it or you're listening later, you go, Mooch, what's wrong with you? Buddy, if you enjoyed Starfield, enjoy it. But now you have this game and it comes out and it's not that it's bad. but it feels flat. It feels stagnant. It didn't do anything. When you have the first or second, depending on how they flip-flop with Apple every once and again, richest company in the world, all the resources, all the money, all the time, being able to hire new equipment, new technology, and things seem to just kind of go flat. Singer, that's the thing I've been saying for years. And here's another example. And I'll be honest with you, I'll go a step further. I don't think... Now we're hearing everybody. The minute this got an 81 and wasn't getting great reviews from influencers and reviewers, immediately what does the Xbox media do? They're out there, they go, well, Avowed's coming. It's like on to the next. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know if Avowed's going to even live up to what Oblivion could do. You know, so I mean, Singer, what do you think when you see this? Do you see that point, even as a PC gamer? Do you see that just as a quality standpoint?
Yeah, I do. I see it. For the Avowed thing, they're right to move on to that because Obsidian's track record is stellar.
It is.
And their track record is without money. So if you could do that without money, with money, you'll be fine, right? I don't have to worry about that studio. That's the one studio in the world I can sit back and go, I know that game's going to be good for me. Cool. But on to the Hellblade thing is... I don't see, all the budget went into the graphics and the visual fidelity, and that came back to what I said last week when I said the key word is cinematic, right? The game is very, very cinematic, heavily focusing on the details, heavily focusing on the mocap. I said it was very linear because it's clearly on rails, essentially, and as Barry spoke to. Which confirmed most of what I said, which was the exact points of the game. And I said the visual puzzles were back, and that's not for everyone's taste, of course. And the voices are still there. So they are a bit yappy, but that's part of the whole psychosis. So, okay, whatever. But the score came out to what we said, and that's where I said it's just a AAA version of Hellblade 1. It's not really... Because I never mentioned it was like a true sequel or anything. Because that's what it felt like. It felt like just the first one, but if it had a bigger budget. With some improvements in graphics. But then I also said the combat was even more simple than the first one, which seems to be the case. Which it is, because it's all one-on-one fights. It's supposed to be more visceral and immersive. And sure, you have the perfect parry and whatnot if you get it.
Reminds me of the Uncharted 4 boat fight with the sword, the tip.
So it's kind of been that way, and it took out to the way. And if you enjoyed the game, you enjoyed it. It personally, it's not for me, that type of game. But I mean, it's unfortunate what they.
Singer, are you a little bit, because we had you on the show last week, and listen, we all gave predictions. I don't remember who came the closest. I don't know if anyone went as far as... I think somebody did.
Someone said 81 or 82.
Somebody said 81 or 82. It wasn't me. I think I said either 83 or 84, so I did not get it. But you were in the mid to high 80s. I think you said 86, Singer. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was thinking 85, 86, yeah.
So, I mean, now that you see what people have said, I mean, are you shocked? Because you saw the game last week before any of us did. So are you shocked, or are you like, no, I understand, I get it, or were you kind of taken back by it?
No, I get it, because it was either going to do rather well, not too great. It was never going to be a 90 or super high 80. Right? That was never going to happen. But I thought it might be a bit better because it's the sequel, so it might get rated a bit higher because it does, the graphics and all that kind of thing. So I thought it might get a few percentage points higher. But it came out to in the 80s, which is essentially what everyone unanimously said. Now, sure, did I overshoot a little bit? Yeah. But, I mean, it's in the realm.
No, you were, by the way, that's... Yeah, and that's not a slight at all, Singer. Listen, you saw a game for whatever it was, an hour, 45 minutes, whatever it was, doesn't matter. You gave your best impression of it, and you threw a number at it, which... again, I was almost drinking the Kool-Aid last week. I said, Singer saw it. I said, maybe it's a natural progression forward. Nobody really knows because there was a late embargo. So there's nothing really even leaking. There's nothing out there. And then when we started seeing a few things kind of trickle out as the weekend was going by, I said, oh, wait, maybe this is a bit of a red flag. Kofi, real quick, I want to get to you on this. We have so many topics to get to. Guys, by the way, just so everyone knows, everything you're seeing on screen here, you saw some advertisements for Hellblade 2. That was stuff that Microsoft put out. I did earlier. But this is Hellblade 1 footage that you're watching right now. I didn't want to do any Hellblade 2 footage for the show. There's no spoilers. Don't worry about it. This is all Hellblade 1 footage. Kofi, first of all, I got to ask you, because the rest of the guys I know that I've seen and discussing it online, and we're going to get to Seeds because I know Seeds has definitely got a review ready to go. But I mean, Kofi, is this game in your wheelhouse? I just knowing you, I kind of think I know the answer, but I'm not going to speak for you. And were you shocked at the reviews? And are you kind of a little bit more concerned at these Microsoft acquisitions with the hands-off approach?
I'll try to give quick fire answers and then I want to throw out something. So I am more concerned. I was shocked at some news that I saw about Hellblade 2 before the review score came out, which led me to not be surprised about the review score. I bought Hellblade 2 on Steam, but I have not played it. So I won't give any,
that's fine.
I won't try to make any assumptions based on things I've seen posted on Twitter. But one thing I wanted to throw out there was one of the people in leadership for Hellblade 2, Dom Matrick, I'm sure you guys saw an interview a little bit over a week ago where he mentioned that the game's development had started sometime after the reveal in December of 2019 when we first saw a trailer and the reveal of the Xbox Series X. And at that point, they started, to work with it. And then when I think about them beginning right at that point, I guess in my head, I try to fit some sort of paradigm of how these studios should be managed, in that nowadays when we show trailers for games, it's usually safer to have some sort of development experience and confidence that whatever we're showing in a trailer has already been demoed in some way, shape, and form, that people who are stakeholders or investors know that the engine can be run on Xbox Series X or some sort of PC equivalent. And that kind of felt backwards to find that out 8 days before. So that's what really shocked me. And so then when I saw that the Metacritic scores weren't absolutely stellar, I go, well, their development time was significantly less. And then I think of how the engine was different for Hellblade 2 versus Hellblade 1. And if they had less time and it was beginning somewhere at the beginning of 2020 when the pandemic hit everybody, and they're migrating all of their tech to a new engine, getting familiar with a new engine, that's a lot of bandwidth. You're asking a somewhat smaller team to learn fairly new technology. There's not any developers that are sitting around with 10 years of Unreal 5 experience because of the engine being so new. So I start to think, from their perspective, if all of that, is true, which seems to be true, they're going to have to limit their scope. They're going to say, okay, all these crazy animations that we had created on Unreal 4 that we could have expanded on, we got to kind of rebuild that from scratch on this engine to optimize here. And that's just a overarching concern. I guess I'm kind of curious what the panel thinks about that. Did that as soon as I saw that information a week before the Metacritic scores came out, I go, oh, they really were kind of limited in how this was planned. And I wish that they had, maybe they didn't need to go with Unreal 5. I'm proud of them for taking on new tech, and that's where we want to be in the gaming industry. But to start after we saw a trailer, after it was kind of pitched as, this is why you buy an Xbox Series X. Right. It just felt a little bit off. Yep. So that's just
no, Kofi, and I think that you're kind of spot on with that, and we're going to get into that. Wooly did a great rant. He did a 3-minute and 50-second rant on Game Pass, and we're going to talk a little bit about exactly what you just ended with there when we get to the Call of Duty section of the show tonight. Detective Seeds, you're very vocal over there on the Twitter feed there, X as Elon likes to call it nowadays. We just lost Seeds. There you go. How about that, folks? That's live radio for you. That's live radio. There it is. You're going to go to Seeds. Seeds is gone. You can't even make that up. That's so great. I'm sure he just dropped. He'll be right back. But when it comes down to it, I really think that that's interesting. And Eric, I know you said you can only stay for a little bit. Well, Seeds is back, Eric. I do want to get your take on this because I do want to get as much of the great voice of reason before he has to go. But Seeds, I was just going to you, Seeds. You dropped out there. Seeds.
Yeah, Discord crashed.
That's the typical Discord. Seeds,
Yeah.
what do you think, though? You've heard, I don't have to pose all the questions to you again. Overall thought of the game, you've played it. What you think of the Metacritic score? What do you think of Microsoft so far? I mean, really, the report card is coming out here, and I saw Keith J, I think it was Keith in the chat, he says, Mooch, you think Hellblade 2 moved the needle at all for Game Pass? I said, I certainly don't think so. But Seeds, this is an overall report card, and it's a report card, and it's not just for Hellblade 2 or Ninja Theory, because as I think that Jay Barry said, Eric Jackson said, K-Med has said, and Wooly said, this is a very talented team, and I won't take anything away from these guys at all. What do you think, Seeds?
Yeah, I mean, going into the game, I looked at it and kind of had my expectations kind of set that I was going in to have an experience. And what Jay said, what everyone else has already said about, the regression of the game through the combat and the puzzles, I completely agree with. That's why I took points off. But I actually gave the game 2 scores, as weird as that might sound.
Yeah.
So on the experience level, I'm pretty vocal about it. I work with some of the companies in terms of accessibility. From being with Regiment and Stack Up Org, it's all veteran for organizations for gamers who are veterans. And I have 7 combat deployments, and I've had my fair share of dealing with mental health. So when I first played Hellblade 1, I've never dealt with the actual psychosis, but I've had my own battles with mental health. And so going into that game, it was an experience for me. Hellblade 2 was another experience for me. Albeit there were things that I did not like, but on the scale of an experience and the story that they were trying to tell through Senua and the intentions behind it, I gave it a much higher score for the experience. But when it comes to being a video game, I gave it a lower score in the 6.5 range. And the reason for that is, I think if you go into this Hellblade series, both 1 and 2, understanding the experience behind it, you're probably going to get more out of it than if you go in looking for a video game to play. And so I think that's why I had to kind of separate the two for myself, to give those scores to where if someone's coming in and they've never played it, they need to understand that this is not necessarily a video game that I would call it. It's an experience for you. And I hope that Ninja Theory is able to continue work that they do into the future. But I put out on Twitter, and I still stand behind it, that letter that went out, I interpreted that as some sort of goodbye. Now, whether that's to Senua and her journey, or there's something else going on that we don't know about. I don't know if anyone else here had, and the reason that I kind of felt that even more, I don't know if anyone saw the interview with Dom and Jake Baldino and Lucy on the Friends Per Second podcast, Skill Ups.
I did not see it, Seeds, but I know of the podcast.
Okay, if you get a chance to go watch that interview, Jake and Lucy both are asking questions about the future of the studio, and Dom very almost somberly says, I don't know. And you kind of got this feeling that he wanted to say things, but he couldn't. And so that worried me. I watched that before I put that post out. And, there was, I don't mention names on podcasts just out of professional courtesy, but there's some people that better hope their sources are correct. Because if they aren't, I think that how we measure success at Microsoft after Hellblade, and especially what happened after Hi-Fi Rush, no one's going to believe anything is safe if something happens to Ninja Theory. They're just not.
Yeah, Ninja.
Because
go ahead. Sorry, Steve.
In my opinion, it's just a very beloved studio, and what they have been able to do and offer an experience that, and this is my own opinion, others may not share this, but when I played Hellblade 1, that was the first time I had a unique experience like that in a video game. And what they were able to do was very special, and I would like to see more of what they are able to do. And it worries me that Microsoft has not been able to establish what success looks like over there. Because in all intents and purposes, Hi-Fi Rush was a success and Tango was closed. So that worries me, man. That worries me with studio like that.
That's where I was going to go, Seeds, is, I mean, don't get me wrong. We sit here, and I think everybody agrees with you in the chat. I think everybody agrees with you on the panel that Ninja Theory is a beloved studio. But Tango Gameworks was also, so was Arcane Austin. I mean, they made, Prey. You've got the Evil Within. I mean, there was just a lot of great games there. Forget despite success or not success in sales, those were good games. So, I mean, nonetheless, but don't get me wrong, there is a business element to it. But like you say, it is a fear because everyone was applauding, stomping their feet and lighting a match when all these teams were acquired. And they're like, well, now these guys have life and they don't have to worry about keeping the lights on. Well, yeah, no, not in the traditional sense where they have to get up and have an independent studio and worry about insurance and keeping the lights on. But now they have to worry about whether or not, their boss is going to keep the lights on. And that's a whole nother concern because now it's out of their hands. Go ahead, Eric.
Well, I mean, we were called everything but a child of God when we kind of said that. It's like you acquire things, but it doesn't necessarily mean that, everybody's going to remain safe because you still have to do performance. You still have to proceed. Now, again, we're sitting here saying we don't know what good enough is for them. But I remember dudes saying, well, because Microsoft is one of the richest companies in the world, it's like they're going to spend money ad nauseum to keep teams and do everything. I'm like, no, everything has a ceiling. You don't stay the richest company by just pouring money into something that's not getting you what you think you might want, whether we agree with it or not. I don't think anybody should feel necessarily safe. Like, I definitely worry about like Double Fine and stuff like that, like what they're going to be doing. Do they fit into the mold? And I remember people really touted too, like the whole, they're going to be hands up. That means these guys can do whatever they want.
Whatever they want, Eric.
And it's like, you need to have some kind of handler. You need somebody over there looking at what's going on before you release things. And it kind of bites them in the ass because every time something happens, the conversations that we have on social media and on podcasts is like, well, how did this happen? How did this fall through the cracks? How did this come out like this? Right.
Yo, can I ask C's a question real quick?
Go ahead, Jay.
Detective C's. Yeah, I want because he was harkening upon the whole experience factor rather than like the game or look at it at an experience factor. So why put out any type of gameplay elements? Why just not put out like a TV show or a movie and give people that experience? Would you be fine if it took away a lot of that gameplay stuff and just the story or the character progression and all that stuff? Would you be fine with that, or you like it how it is with the game, a little bit of game elements and just, walk forward, boom?
Yeah, so I wish that they, in Hellblade 2, I wish that they would have kept the combat flow and the elements that we had in Hellblade 1, because I felt that there was a lot more gameplay-esque to keep you engaged in Hellblade 1 than what we have in Hellblade 2. And so I was taken back. That's why I gave, in terms of actually being a video game, if you're focusing just on the game itself, a much lower score in the 6s, because there's not a lot of that. The puzzles, I don't want to give spoilers, but the puzzles are just so easy to solve. I mean, a couple of them, it's just.
I never got stuck on it. I got stuck on.
Yeah, it's just trial and error, really, on the one.
Yeah,
it's like
pretty much.
Yeah,
so they pretty much. Like tell you the puzzle. Like once you're close to something, is all a bunch of stuff on your screen. I'm just like,
so that's a good question,
Barry,
right?
And that's the thing, Barry, too. Is like, again, we're dealing with the psychosis side of things, and I think in the first game, it was very much meant her own inner monologues, her own, not sure of herself. This one is basically kind of just being like your hint factor.
Yeah,
and that's why I think the talking seems like it's way too much.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I've heard this, and I wanted to ask those who have played it. My main concern, I haven't played it yet, is that the biggest part of the Hellblade 1 experience that so many of us love is the journey of Senua herself. Like it is one of the most amazing character arcs in gaming, in my opinion. It's just phenomenal. The internal struggle, the battle, the voices trick you in the beginning of the game.
Yeah,
it's almost like throughout the game you almost. The voices change slightly to be more trusting, but because almost like her own self self-worth is increased, so she's less self-detrimental in her own internal monologues. But I've heard that the internal voices in the sequel, there's not as much character depth to them in how they affect you as Senua and how they affect the player, and also it just doesn't have the same weight or the same impact. It's almost a bit like it's almost like Pirates of the Caribbean 5 or 4, where Johnny Depp forgot how to play Captain Jack Sparrow. You know, like he was just saying what was in front of him instead of acting as he would in the other films before that. Is that the case with this game? Have they kind of missed the mark or forgotten what made the first game so special?
I think that, and to also kind of answer even more onto Jay's question, I think one of the things that they did here was when they got into UE5, again, could be wrong, happy to be wrong, I don't care. I think that they got so enamored by how beautiful they made this game look and sound that I really felt like they gave me those aspects, a more beautiful experience and a more in-depth when it comes to the audio, immersion. But I felt like everything else was taken away that I came to love of Senua's journey in the first game. And I didn't get anything else in return other than that graphical uptick and the audio. I felt like the combat was stripped back.
You mean the substance by audio? Do you mean just the sound quality, or are you referring to?
I felt like
not the sound of the voices, but what the voices are saying, the depth of the
entirety of the immersion wearing headphones in Hellblade 2. Right. I felt that it was better all around than in Hellblade 1. But the actual gameplay of what kept us engaged in Hellblade 1, I felt like a lot of that got stripped out and was taken away, and we didn't really get anything to replace that. We lost some of the puzzles, albeit they weren't the most challenging in Hellblade 1. They were still there to give you a little bit of fulfillment of overcoming something. The combat flow of being able to go from enemy to enemy to enemy and those multi-targets and being able to just flow through battle, that was kind of taken away, and there wasn't anything given to replace that. And so I felt that they fell short in that aspect. I don't really want to get into the story itself. Others can if you want to. I don't want to slip up and.
No, I don't want to do that.
But those were the main aspects that I felt were taken away, and nothing was really given to the player to kind of make up for that, other than the graphics and the cinema style atmosphere. That's why I gave it 2 scores. As dumb as that might sound, I gave it a score for a cinematic experience because it was very.
What about
heavy.
The emotional aspect, the emotional impact of like the journey? Like, I'm not asking you to give spoilers.
I didn't find it.
I didn't feel that.
I didn't feel it as much as I did in the first game.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That was kind of my question.
Yeah, the first game.
I want to co-sign on something Jay Bari said. Like, I kind of got to the point, even on a short game, I kind of got to the point where I was like, I just want to be done. At this point, because, and again, the performances themselves were solid, just like the first game. And I'm watching the combat on screen now, and I'm just baffled like how people feel like the combat is elevated in this game. And teach their own. So something I put out the other day, Mooch, you probably saw when I said, I'm getting this feeling that people, if they just played Hellblade 2 that's their first experience with it, I can understand you feeling like, whoa, this is right. Intense, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But if you really, and I know there are other people who just played the first game, so that probably led a little bit into recency bias into playing the second game because you're like getting that flow. But if you really spend time with the first game, like some of us on this panel have, I played it multiple times. It was special. And no, you don't always hold a sequel to feeling special because you kind of been there, but you expected to still kind of understand where it came from and elevate, right? And that's why I said I think there's a bit of disingenuousness going on in the conversation because people are getting really stuck on just the graphical part of it, the UE5 part of it, which is beautiful. And if you have any criticism for anything else, people are like, I don't know what you're talking about. This was fantastic. This was this great all around thing. And I'm like, teach their own, but I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Right.
So
you see how you fighting like 3 people here in an actual boss fight?
Yes.
Right.
Yo, there's actually people saying that the combat is better in Hellblade 2 than 1.
Yeah,
I love the combat in the first game.
I understand if you like the game, but yo, that's just a straight lie. Yo, it's not like the combat was. It's not like the combat is deep in Hellblade. It's not that deep. But look what you're doing here. You fight against 3 people, and then you're going to switch back to the boss, an actual boss, and each boss plays differently. Come on, man.
Yeah, there's like none of that. And you know what? I know people are making the comparisons because this is always what happens when there's like a first party release, right? They get the most scrutiny, like back and forth, and people will start doing the whataboutism where they're comparing. Well, you say this about a sequel, but you didn't say this about like Spider-Man or whatever. And I said, let's pull it back to a team that had their first outing, and then they came back with a sequel that addressed issues people had, but also added new ideas. And I'll go to the Plague's Tale. A Plague Tale, in a sense, to Requiem, very much the same, but changes and elevates itself as a sequel. And I kind of felt this is where we should have been with this one. I don't know why, but to me, you guys may agree or disagree, I feel like Hellblade 1 is more of a sequel than Hellblade 2. If you put Hellblade 1 behind Hellblade 2, you'd go, oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, they added to the game. And that's what I'm hearing from more and more people who played the game, Eric. That's the thing. Mm-hmm. So I've got a couple super chats here, and it ends with the question. I'll pose the question to you guys, and then we'll move on to the second topic here. The great Donnell Brown, everybody knows the great Donnell Brown. I know the panel knows him as well. He's got to kick Mooch while he's down. He goes, how about those New York Knicks? Oh, come on, Donnell. Leave us alone. Donnell also...
that's a self-inflicted wound, man. Y'all Knicks fans, y'all win one series and you think you won the championship.
We did, dude. I was out there. We were jumping like crazy. Jay, listen, we get excited, Jay. I'm a Mets fan. All we have to do is win 4 games in a row, and all of a sudden I'm buying more merch. Listen, that's a me problem. The great Donnell Brown knows, he must know the great WoolleyGamer all too well. He goes, when Wooly was describing when he was playing through the first Hellblade, he goes, what game? What game doesn't make you cry?
You gotta let me answer this. You gotta let me
Go ahead, Wooly.
Right?
Go ahead.
Right. So this is facts, right? Death Stranding 2's reveal trailer, Metal Gear Solid 4, the final fight between 2 brothers, right? And lastly, I can't even remember the 4th one, but there are 4 times in my gaming life I have cried. And Hellblade. And 4 times I've cried over a video game. And Hellblade, Death Stranding 2's reveal trailer, because it meant that much to me. And Metal Gear Solid 4, the first time I played it, and towards the end, the build-up, everything about it, man, was just...
I love the passion. I love the passion, Wooly. Like, that's the thing. When you go out and do your rants on Twitter, and you're on podcasts, and you do shows... Like, you literally are so passionate about games, and that's one of the things I always give credit to Jay Barry and Persona. If you guys, I got to plug the show, go over and check out What's Up PlayStation Saturday mornings. Like, in all honesty, like, Jay, you guys talk games, and Wooly talks games, and when I ever hang out with you guys actually, you guys cost me money, because I'm like, I got to go play this game. I mean, this just sounds like a good time, So, shout out to Wooly. Shout out to the guys on Whoops as well. Silent Merc, he says, I fell asleep on the couch watching Lono play it. Shout out to Silent Merc. Apparently, this is not his jam. The great Rob Jones goes, too bad there is no showcase tomorrow. That's an inside joke. Rob thought there was going to be something tomorrow. I go, you can free your schedule. There's no showcase tomorrow, Rob. There's no showcase. We will talk about that. That's in our PlayStation. I have a bunch of news that came out between the show yesterday and everything else that went on. We'll get into that. Just Wait says, I think he said Ninja Theory could have just made a live action movie instead of a game with 0 player engagement. It would have taken 1 year and cost 1/3 the budget. That's what Jay Barry was asking.
You know what's funny about that? So when I beat the game, they have a setting in there where it does everything. It's like an auto combat setting. So every combat scenarios, it will just do it for you. So you can just put the controller down and do it for you. They have that setting in the game, which is crazy.
We got the great Scolari Brothers is back. He says 27 months with the family. By the way, he's got a room in the house. He says, great looking game. Shame there's little gameplay in only 6 hours. That's something we didn't talk about, guys. I don't know who wants to chime in on that. Anybody? I don't think you have to sit there. I don't think a game has to be 100 hours. It doesn't have to be 80 hours. Is there a critique when you're under 10 hours or no? I don't necessarily think a game has to be. That's one thing I haven't said. I don't really care that the game is 6. Listen, everyone on the panel has mentioned who's beaten it. We've heard Jay Barry said he won 1,000 for 1,000, and he was just about 9 hours. I've heard certain people say 6.5 hours. I've heard certain people say 12 hours. 7. Right? I don't think that. Eric, that's not a problem, right?
Not at all. I look forward to shorter experiences as long as it hit the mark. I don't really care. Because sometimes some games hang around for 100 hours, and I'm like, you could have ended 40 hours ago.
It's the substance. It's the substance of those hours. It's what those hours consist of. And for example, the Order 1886. For me, I played that for the first time like 4 or 5 years after its initial release, and I could not believe what an incredible experience it was. Like, it was amazing. It took me about 7 hours, right, from start to finish, and I loved every second. And it was the gameplay was incredible. It has the best shotgun ever made in gaming history. End of period. Like, the shotgun in that game is unbelievable, right? It's just insane. And the story was gripping. I know it's got its issues and its flaws, but I loved the characters, man. I loved the lore. I loved the world, and the way it finished too. Like, it just felt like the perfect package, man. Like, I loved it, and the length of the game was perfect for me. It was spot on, right? It was just phenomenal. I would have had no issues with Hellblade 2's length. I would have understood it if there weren't so many people saying that there's like an hour long lighting torches in a dark cave, and like filler that would be conventionally in a longer game to kind of pad it out a little bit. There's a lot of padding in this game, from what I've heard, and that's concerning to me. But then again, it's like a go figure moment, because Unreal Engine 5 was only really ready to be developed on in spring 2022. Going off Leviathan Gamer there, and he knows his stuff, Leviathan. So all they had before that really was a vertical slice to showcase, and the rest was all. I mean, they were flipping in Iceland, weren't they? Like taking pictures of mountains just a couple of years ago. Like, it's mad. It's still very much in the early mid development stage. Just
Woolley,
a few years ago.
Would you have felt the same, considering that you played 1886 later on, right? You got it for a cheaper price, I'm assuming, right? Would you have paid full price for that experience? Like, just to bring up the conversation of, the ROI, right? People always want more for their money. I'm not into that really, because, well, I'm not short on money, so I don't give a shit. But I mean, still, it is a concern, right? You want some playtime for your money. At $50 for Hellblade, like, is that worthy investment? Should it have been $39, right, or $40, right? I mean, I think those are valid concerns. Like, how much do you pay for these experiences? Would you have paid full price for the Order 1886 at 6-7 hours?
The Order 1886 for me is a 50 quid game.
Okay.
In what I view as it's worth, for me, it's worth 50 quid. From what I've seen of Hellblade 2, I would buy it at 30. And I intend to buy it. I'm going to dust my PC off. It's under my bed at the moment. Long story. But I've got a 3070 rig, Lenovo T7 Black tower. And I do want to experience it because I love the first game so much. But from the criticisms so many have unanimously kind of come out with about the game's pacing issues, the filler, the quality of the time, the quality of player time, in terms of what you're actually doing in Hellblade 2, I'm not so certain. I'm pretty sure that's why it's sold so abysmally. And we can judge that it has because it's primarily a Steam release, and the majority of players playing it not on Game Pass will be on Steam, and Steam's statistics, man, it's very concerning, very, very concerning.
I think we're going to have to start talking about exchange rates for currency in here so we know what quids and are to US dollars and pounds.
Quids and stones and
50 UK pounds sterling is like.
Yeah, anybody got some pesos? Like, what are we doing?
Well, you know, it's funny. So I've been watching a lot of Jeff Gertzman does a solo cast, and shout out to Jeff. I mean, he does. I think it's very funny. He's great. He's been in the games industry for a long time, and you know, he said something that was interesting. I'm paraphrasing here, but just roughly, like, you know, I'm hearing what K-Med just said. You know, $50 for, and again, it was kind of a rhetorical question for the audience. But you know, being on the panel, he says is 50, and he's asking, is $50 too much for a 6 to 10 hour game? Should it have been 30? Should it have been this? I think the problem that a lot of people, especially in the Xbox camp, they're saying, well, it's in Game Pass. Yeah. You know, well, it's in Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass, go try it. If you don't, you know, don't. I don't know.
I'll say this about the whole pricing thing.
It's become a Game Pass. But you know what I mean, JJ? My point. I just want to end with my point is that like it's like, well, it's in Game Pass, so who cares, right? So it doesn't matter. It's like it seems like everyone. Right? It's like, you know, it's right. Like don't go buy it. Don't go do this and that. You know, whatever. It's in Game Pass, so it doesn't matter. You know,
I think we're gonna find out that it does matter.
It definitely matters.
Like for me, I don't like to you know, equate like the length of a game to like the price. Like if the game was like super good and the experience was amazing, then it didn't matter how much I paid for it. I enjoyed my time regardless of what the price is. The problem with Hellblade is, like, I feel like they increased the price from the first game. The first game was $30. I look back on my PlayStation receipt. The second game is $50, but you're getting less video game. You know what I mean? So like, if they would have kept a lot of the stuff from the first game, you know, more exploration, probably, you know, even more side content that's to get in, you know, in depth with Senua and the world and the NPCs that she meet here. I would have been like, oh, this is a cool $50, easy. Even if it was like short, even say it was like 10 hours, cool. But there's just not that much game here. That's just what it is. It's not much game. It's less of what the first game was. The first game was $20 cheaper.
Yeah,
it's a go figure moment though when you think about it, because the size of, even though they tripled the size of the studio or quadrupled the size of the studio for Hellblade 2. More complicated assets take a lot more time to make and a lot more manpower. And although a lot of it's Unreal Engine 5 and a lot of that's automatic to a degree, you know, it does a lot of the legwork for them. There is still so much work going into that, and it was only really flushed out engine by 2022, so they've not had a long time to actually make a game. And I just think the deadline they were obviously given by Microsoft, it's just another go figure moment. You know, they've been doomed to fail from the beginning.
Do we know how much this game costs to make by anybody now?
No,
I don't know.
No.
Okay.
No, I'm very curious.
I mean, at the end of the day, this thing is a showpiece for Unreal Engine 5. It shows the potential for sure. It's a marvel to look at. It's a marvel to listen to. So it definitely gets its kudos there. It's just there's not enough game. That's all.
Yeah,
and that's the funny thing. That's the funny thing, Barry. Is that's what people come back with when you have a criticism. Like, well, it's the best looking game that we've seen this gen. It's like there's no dispute that this is beautiful looking, but game is the operative word. You know, you can absolutely have a showpiece, right? And
where was that energy for the order?
Well, that's.
I mean,
it's like having a Lamborghini that sits there, but somebody took the engine out and you can't turn it on. It might be pretty to look at, but it doesn't mean that it's fun to drive because you can't drive.
The order had more
gameplay. Those same knocks they had for the order are there. Yeah,
the order definitely.
The order got
gameplay. The order definitely needs this criticism, but it definitely had more gameplay for sure.
Exactly. Absolutely,
it had weapon variety and the whole nine.
But shoulders above the rest.
Yeah,
visuals.
Yeah.
No, 100%. Shout out to TrueWiddy. He says, do you think Microsoft will shut Ninja Theory down after? I guess we'll end with that subject there, and then we'll kind of move on to the next topic. I mean, I think we kind of
stupid to do that.
I think right now, I mean, you guys tell me, like, Microsoft is very aware of public perception. So whenever they do something that was as alarming as what happened with Tango and what happened with Arcane Austin and a few of the others, that they shifted some people from certain studios to others to help out. But they closed down those two for sure. I don't see them doing anything to Ninja Theory, at least now. and it's not about another game that's coming from Ninja Theory or anything like that. I really don't think that they can handle that kind of press right now. I just don't. So I don't see Ninja Theory going anywhere.
Even outside of the press, Mooch, I don't think that would be a smart move. I think again, it's a capable team. You got to keep like support them and get out of their way and actually let them like go and cook. Like, because Willie was saying, and shout out to SloMo. I was talking to him in DMs earlier, and he was saying the same thing. UE5 is like the showpiece. Is really just now getting to that point of being able to be developed on. So yeah, it might have been that mistake of showing that Hellblade trailer and then kind of being like, okay, we're pulling back for 5-6 years. Because if this game released next to the Series X as a showpiece, so to speak, or whatever it is, I don't think it's getting knocked as hard as it is right now. We're still going to be critical.
Yeah.
Like, Barry, because we know what original Hellblade was like. But
Jackson, why have a AA studio? Why have a AA studio trying to push AAA ambitions when it comes to the relatively shallow facets of a game, i.e., the audio-visual experience? That's a AAA. That's AAA territory. What Ninja Theory were pioneering with Hellblade 1, what they were so ambitious with was the realization of psychosis in the video game form, and that was incredible. That was so ambitious, and
they did more heavy lifting on their own.
Exactly, but they weren't overly focused on the visual audio experience. They weren't. Yeah, the audio was binaural and it was incredible, but point is they weren't bogged down with how realistic the game can look, and that to me is just such a step backwards for a studio. And why did Microsoft just think, yeah, we'll use a AA studio as the flagship, technical, ambitious kind of show centerpiece of graphics when it's such a dumb idea in my opinion.
Mooch, I think to answer your question. Real quick, Mooch, I think to answer your question, I don't think Satya Nutella gives a rat's ass about the public perception. If he looks at the numbers and he says, "Hey, they're costing us too much money and they're not making enough," he's going to close them. He's going to do whatever he wants, because I think right now the actual people who do care about the public perception being in that Xbox ecosystem, they're not the ones running the show. And right now, I've said it a couple times, you are looking at a very emotionless business. They are looking at the numbers. We were on with BRAP's podcast last night. We were talking about it. It's emotionless. And if that studio is not hitting the numbers that they want to hit, they don't care.
That's an interesting point.
They're going to close or do whatever they want.
That's an interesting point, and I won't just use Ninja Theory as the example, but if what we're seeing if what we're seeing right now is happening where now you don't see Phil and that team being as vocal anymore, and a lot of people, I don't remember if it was Wooly who said it earlier or who said it, but somebody was saying it's Microsoft Gaming, right? They don't at all now, and that's what Seeds' point may be relevant, guys. We may have to like buckle up and be ready for that ride, because Satya really isn't going to wait if things are not the bottom line. It depends on who's actually calling these shots right now and who's making these decisions. Is it still Phil and his team? If it is, I think Ninja Theory kind of rides it out. If it's Satya, maybe him and his CFO of making a different call. It is one of those types of things. The other thing is that Ninja Theory was acquired in, was it 2018? 2017, 2018? 2018 they were acquired, and their game came out in 2024. In order to keep the Game Pass model going and making the money that they desired with these acquisitions, like Bethesda, and this, you have to have, Bethesda being a publisher, of course, you have to have the games coming out a little bit faster than that. So if the game doesn't come out and do very well and doesn't move Game Pass subscriptions, it doesn't sell a lot, it doesn't create buzz. Again, depending on who's actually looking at this, the dollars and cents here, maybe Ninja Theory is at risk. I don't think they should be, personally. And I'll tell you, this happens all the time in sports. If a team sometimes drops a player and that's a good player, another team picks that player up. So I got news for you. Ninja Theory is a very talented group of people. So, you let them go. Someone might pick them up.
Mooch,
Go ahead, Ken.
Man, you're hurting me, dude, because I see these like doom and gloom like visions of all these talented studios, man, just getting torn up, right? To go like fucking make it the next Call of Duty or some shit, you know? Like we'll take Joey and this dude because they're good. The rest of the studio, fuck you. You guys get to work on Call of Duty. Nice work on Hi-Fi Rush. It didn't sell. You know what I mean? Like shit like that. Like those were good, unique games, man. What are we gonna get? What are we gonna get in 10 years when it's just what fucking Call of Duty and I don't know, another Halo maybe? I don't even know.
I know. Well, speaking of that, Kayman, you kind of lead us right into our next topic here.
You're welcome.
Kay, you're a natural, Kay. You're a natural. I've been trying to get Kay on more. He's a very difficult person to get on a podcast, but I love it when he's here. So I'll go with Wooly. Wooly, you started with you had a rant, and the reason I'm kind of going to you is this topic will divulge, and it's the Call of Duty coming to Xbox Game Pass, and we know it's going to be Black Ops 6. Is this Xbox's last-ditch effort to gain Game Pass subscribers? Will it work? And Wooly, when you did your 3-minute rant yesterday, I want you to just tell the audience who may not have seen your position on Twitter, now X. You had mentioned that Microsoft is kind of almost shooting themselves in the foot because in order for Game Pass to thrive, and I'll let you take it from here, there's something that they had to do that they have to do currently. And they're not doing that, and maybe that's why Game Pass numbers aren't climbing. Go ahead, Willie. I'll let you take it from there because I thought you did a great job.
So I've always held this stance, and I've always said this from the beginning. And it's crazy to me that Microsoft would pour in so much money on a service that they're not making a necessity. They're keeping it optional. You see, Steam detracts from Game Pass as much as Game Pass, more than Game Pass detracts from Steam. To release your game on Game Pass and Steam is merely giving people the option to rent a game or buy a game or wait for a game to go on a sale. Now you're automatically making Game Pass not a necessity but an option. Why the hell would they do that when it is a Trojan that requires so much of a loss-leading head start to fundamentally establish itself? It requires so much money. It's like a leaking bucket that they're filling with a spoon, or a fire that they're keeping alight with paper instead of throwing big logs on it. Right? They're not fundamentally tackling the issue. The Game Pass has always required, and I said this way before they acquired Activision and Bethesda. Game Pass fundamentally requires that they acquire on a mass scale IP and studios who lock it in. Problem is they've done exactly the first bit. They've done what I said they would do this whole time. They've acquired on a mass scale lots of IP and acquired lots of studios, but they haven't locked them in. They haven't locked them into Game Pass to make Game Pass a necessity. People will go, if they did that, if they did lock it in and not release it on Steam at the same time, people would go, oh man, I really want to play this game, but it's only available on Game Pass. Right. But hang on, Game Pass isn't that expensive anyway. It's actually quite affordable. Why aren't I sub to Game Pass? Oh, I'm going to go sub to Game Pass to play this game. Like that is what they needed to do. And I'm not saying I'm for that. I'm not for that. I don't want them to do that. I've always hated Game Pass from the beginning for that reason, because I know exactly what that model necessitates. And that model necessitated shifting the market. How are you going to shift the market? You're not creating new gamers, you're moving them. How are you going to move them and attract them and to your platform and detract them from their current habits? You have to make Game Pass a necessity. And simply giving them the option to rent opposed to buy, well, that is just not going to move the needle. So they're fundamentally flawed from the get-go. So they're pouring in all this money and it's being wasted, being absolutely wasted, where sales cannibalize Game Pass, and Game Pass cannibalizes sales, and the option to buy detracts from Game Pass. And so, yeah.
Well, that's an interesting point, and I'm glad you shared that, because I mean, I wonder how many people do agree. I think your stance makes sense. You know, I'll go to the great Death Singer. you coming from the PC side of things, you heard what Wooly just said. It does hold some weight, does it not, Singer? I mean, the thing is when you say you've got to have Game Pass, when someone says that means I have to. It's the only place to play it. The thing is now, especially now with the rumors of more third party, if the games are supposedly eventually going to go to PlayStation and the games are going to be going and they're on Steam day one, right? You don't need it's not even, before we used to say, oh, you don't need an Xbox. Now you don't even need Game Pass. And you may say, Singer, you may be the anomaly and say, I have Game Pass and I play on PC. That's fine. That's totally fine. You're also a hardcore gamer. My point being is that if you weren't, and you were just a PC player and you played the 4 or 5 favorite games you do every year, you would just keep buying the Xbox games you like on Steam. And you wouldn't get, you know what I mean? So I think Wooly's point is, in order for Game Pass to truly thrive, it can't go on Steam day one. It can't be on PlayStation down the road. It's got to stay on the Xbox ecosystem alone. Does that hold water with you, or no? You think the strategy with being everywhere is fine? Is it fine?
The thing is, with PC, like, it was never going to, Game Pass on PC was never going to thrive like you would think it would anyway, right? Because the fundamental thing is Steam, right? If you're a PC gamer, Steam. Steam is king. Steam is everything. Steam is where you get your games, where you get your deals, where your friends are, right? Mm-hmm. Epic Game Store does nothing. EA Ubisoft Plus does nothing. EA Pro does nothing.
Yeah.
The Windows Store does nothing. Game Pass, sure, some people use it. But if you're going to play a game, like, let's say Avowed comes out, right?
Yep.
Am I going to go there on Game Pass, or am I going to go, okay, so it's going to be $70 when it comes out, or I could go Green Man Gaming and get it for
probably $50, right?
Off,
yeah,
or
$55.
CD keys to get it for $50, right?
Right.
Okay, I could do that. Okay, cool. That's a reasonable price. All right, cool. I'll just buy the game, and that's what Steam. You see this. You see the sales. You know where the websites are, and you go, cool, I'll pay that, because you're never forced to pay $70. Like, you can't force a PC gamer to do something. Companies can't get away with it, so there's always an option. So that's why PC on Game Pass on PC is fundamentally struggling anyway, because you have to compete with Steam, right? Because that's where everyone's at. So unless you somehow incorporate Game Pass into Steam, that's the only way you would ever be successful on there anyway. And why would Steam allow you to incorporate Game Pass? They wouldn't.
Right.
But now for the console, it does hold weight. Yes.
Sure it does. Yes.
Because console, you don't have options. You have literally what you're given, for the most part. Either the store or the storefront on the console. So I agree with what Willie said. It counts for the console, but not necessarily for the PC part, because there's fundamental problems at the core of what PC gaming is.
And that's not even considering the fact that if you get the entire console gaming and PC gaming demographic, you take away 70 to 80% of it, that's what they're left with to appeal to, because the majority of people will play free-to-play games and buy 1 or 2 staple franchises a year, and that's it. They'll buy their 2K or their FIFA and their I don't know, you get the idea. They'll buy the 1 or 2 staple franchises that come out each year, and they're good. That's done. So what they're left with is a relatively small pool of core gamers who would be incentivized, even have a chance to be incentivized at spending several £100 a year to play hundreds and hundreds of games. That, you know, the vast majority of gamers just won't even appeal to them. And they fundamentally misunderstood the assignment. They misunderstood their market. They misunderstood their own model. They didn't realize that when we say being all in, that doesn't mean spending a shit ton of money. It means spending a shit ton of money and not letting that money go wasted, but using it very, very wisely. And locking in IP into Game Pass is the only way to make Game Pass a necessity. So and they haven't done it, and now it's too late.
So, Willie, you saying that and locking in, Jay, you listen, there's no hiding it. You liked Call of Duty. I know you do like Call of Duty. I also do as well. But Jay, would you Do you see where Woolie's coming from? Now they're going to throw game. I mean, I don't know if it's become. Guys, correct me if I'm wrong. I know that there's internal leaks, internal reports that have come out that are saying, people found out that the next Call of Duty will go on Game Pass day one. But Jay, does that really move the needle tremendously? Do you think a lot of people are going to go, "Oh my God, it's on Game Pass"? Well, I'm going to switch from PlayStation to Xbox, or that's where I'm going to go play from now on. When you can still buy the game on PlayStation, and you can also get the game, sometimes around Christmas time or holiday time, you can get that for even like what Deathsinger was saying, sometimes 20% off around the holidays. So, I mean, does that really move the needle? Because everyone's thinking, wow, Call of Duty coming to Xbox, this is a big deal. I think it's a big deal because you'll see the number of Game Pass subs will go up, but I don't think it's going to be anything outrageous.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this. Especially I feel like these games going into Game Pass doesn't make the game better. It's not evolving the game. We have examples like Halo Infinite, Gears of War 5, heck, Hellblade 2 launching as a Game Pass. Did they improve the game? Are we getting more? No, you're not. You're getting actually less. And then you have to wait 6 months, a year until you get whatever it is. We see these multiplayer games where, a lot of people complain about microtransactions in Call of Duty. Look at the two games that launched into Game Pass. Xbox games, Gears. I remember people having skins for $5, $10, $9.99. Now we're seeing skins for $20.
Yeah.
I just think my fear when it comes to Call of Duty going into Game Pass is that Call of Duty is a big franchise. It's a big AAA franchise, and I feel like footing the bill for a service like Game Pass and the development now going into day and date, we're going to see less of what we normally would get. The last couple of Call of Duties we've been getting less anyway. You know what I mean? And my fear is that we're going to get less. But the thing is, I feel what was the main question? I'm over here.
No, I mean, my point was just that, do you think this is going to move the needle? I'll give you guys an example.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I got you.
Renting versus buying. And this is a game, listen, people have been buying Call of Duty for a very long time. When I see a movie that's out and it's not on any of the streaming services yet, but I want to check it out, I'll go over to Apple TV, right? And I'll go on there and it'll say, rent it for $6 or own it for $19.99. A lot of times, that's a big enough gap for a lot of people, right? I usually elect to own it, because if I want to watch this damn thing the next weekend before it hits a Netflix or it hits a streaming service like Max or something like that, I'm going to end up paying another $6 plus tax, and I still don't own the damn thing. So a game like Call of Duty that I love and I've been buying since the day Call of Duty came out, I'm not going to stop buying this game. Game Pass doesn't change that for me.
Yeah,
but that's me.
I'm not speaking for everybody. You fall into the ballpark of many people. If you play Call of Duty specifically, or you play it year by year, year to year, you're not going to be subscribing to Game Pass just to play Call of Duty. It's going to cost you more. The thing is, I feel like what would bring people over to Xbox more than just putting it into Game Pass is actually the content. People will buy a Call of Duty game on a specific platform due to what type of incentive they would get from the content. And since Microsoft is not doing any type of exclusive deal or exclusive content on Xbox, there's no real need for you to transition over. We see many people, they bought the 360 version of Call of Duty because of, they got the map packs. They bought the PlayStation version of this game because they got the beta first. You got special content that's exclusive to the platform, and that's where people would actually move over to buy not just put it in Game Pass. Personally, I feel like they're going to have a situation on their hands, because the most popular mode in Call of Duty is a free to play mode. What is going to happen with Warzone now? Is it still going to be offering as free to play, or are you going to tie this into a Game Pass type of thing? You know what I mean? Are you going to finally charge for Warzone as well? Or are you going to incorporate it within the whole entirety of the package, which they do, but you also had the option to just download, not buy the game, but just download Warzone by itself. And that's the most popular mode. So what's the sense of putting a game like that into the service when majority of the people that's playing the game online is playing a free-to-play mode?
Yeah, and I want to hear what the rest of the panel has to say. Shout out to Ricardo. He goes, "Why, Mooch, do you care if Call of Duty is in Game Pass? Microsoft's going to be happy when you buy PS5 Call of Duty." I don't know how many times I think I've been saying this for the better part of 7 years. It's a talk show, Ricardo. Welcome. Ricardo's here every week. He knows that. We're talking about the news. This is the news. This is big news. It is a big deal. And then we're giving our opinion on whether or not we think this moves the needle. Right? I mean, because that's why they're doing it, because Microsoft would stand to make a lot more money if they didn't put it in Game Pass. I truly believe that. I think they would lose. They're going to lose money initially because everyone that's got Game Pass, right? Let's say, what do they say they're at? 34 million? 34 million in Game Pass? Those people are not going to go out and pay $70 a game now. Some of those people
are themselves into a corner,
and that's fine,
big time, because they've walked themselves into a corner, Mooch, because I was talking with Jez Corden the other day, because we had a disagreement, but he messaged me privately, and we ended up having a good conversation over a couple of days, and he said, and I 100% believe it. I would have guessed the same figure myself, that 80% of revenue generated by Call of Duty is from cosmetics, which makes sense because cosmetics appeal to rich folk and not so rich folk. And we all know the mobile game model, you monetize to target the minority of wealthy gamers who have money to spend on appealing things, that impulse buy. And that's where the majority of the revenue comes from. Hopefully the game isn't designed to maximize that at the expense of the experience for casual gamers who haven't got all the money to spend. But you get the idea. Cosmetics in Call of Duty are the bulk of the revenue. Now, if the game Call of Duty was to release on Game Pass day one, then and it shifted the market over to Game Pass, then it would make, I would imagine, largely a lot of money that it currently makes. Maybe not the same amount, a bit less, obviously, but it would still manage it if it was able to shift all those gamers over to it. But because it's not going to do that, because they're still allowing players to buy it elsewhere. It's just going to be an expense. It's not going to.
Yes, no, I definitely see that point, and that the cosmetics are a big revenue stream for sure. But the other thing is, if you go back to when Phil was on that, I believe it was XCast, and he was saying, when you're talking about how to make more money, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't have the quote in front of me, but he said something like, you either have to find new ways of getting new customers for them and them spending money, or you have to take the customers that you have. And you have to somehow get more money out of the customer base you already have if you're not bringing in new customers, right? That's how. So the thing is using Phil's words precisely to all you guys out there in the audience right now or listening later that are like, well, I have Game Pass and I don't mind. You don't mind. You're paying $16.99 right now. The other rumor, and again, rumors, guys, we're having a talk here. The rumors are that the Game Pass, if Game Pass does have Call of Duty in it, it may be a higher tier. So that goes to what Phil was saying. The latter part of his comment on XCast was he was like, we have to take the customers that we have and we have to actually ask for more money from them, and that would mean that Game Pass sees maybe going from $16.99 to a $19.99 or a $24.99. It depends on the tier. Who knows what the tiers are going to be? And this is all hypothetical. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it does make sense. If Microsoft is not going to make all that money on the $70, you look at the numbers that Activision made on Call of Duty games every year, they were all $70 across the board. Now Microsoft's taking a third of that chunk and saying, nope, we're going to put it on our subscription base. Are they going to now kind of like squeeze more money out of that consumer base? Because on the PlayStation side, and they're going to put it on Nintendo, they're going to be, they said they were going to put it on Nintendo. We'll find out. But my point is they're going to still pay $70. I'm
sorry, brother. I will stop talking in just a second.
No, go ahead.
I think people misunderstand me. I see somebody saying Microsoft Defense Force in full swing today. I'm not defending Microsoft here. Far from it. If you know me, you would know I really hate Game Pass for many reasons. But this is a nuanced discussion where all I'm saying is that Game Pass would have to lock in those impulse buyers who have money to spend into Game Pass, into that for it to generate decent revenue in Game Pass. But because they're not going to do that, because they're still allowing players to buy these games elsewhere, all Game Pass is a waste of money. All it is a burden to Microsoft, because then it's not shifting the market. It's not doing what they need it to do for it to reach a level of people locked in on that service to justify it existing. And all they're doing is losing out on sales. And that's my point.
Yeah, so Death Singer or Seeds, anybody wants to chime in? Kofi, what do you guys think about this? I mean, it's more than likely happening, and it's going to be one of those things where I do believe we'll see Game Pass tiers derived from this, and I could easily see it going to $19.99 or maybe $24.99 in the future. I again, it's just a prediction. It's a big what if. Who knows?
Yeah, I'd be more surprised if they didn't put it on Game Pass, to be honest.
Right.
I think they're gonna increase the monthly price of Game Pass, and then they're probably also going to offer you to play it a few days early for an additional fee. They're going to capitalize on some money in that aspect. I think the conversation that he said he had with Jez is correct. I mean, Call of Duty, majority of the money is made after the point of sale. It comes with the microtransactions, the battle passes, and everything else. And I would have been more surprised and taken back if they don't put it on Game Pass than them actually putting it on there. I don't think really they have a choice. And I think that they've probably crunched the numbers in that aspect to say, we'll throw it on there, see if it does drive some extra members over to us. If it doesn't, we're gonna make that money off of the other customers that are going to buy it. Not to mention we're going to make money off of everybody buying microtransactions and what skins and freaking dances and all the other shit that you can get on those things. And they've crunched that, and so I think that they're going to continue to do that, and they're going to continue to capitalize in the future off of those games from those third party revenue sources, whether it be on the new Switch when that comes out, PlayStation, sell it on Steam, so on and so forth. So yeah, I would have been more surprised if they didn't put it on there. I mean, I think it was coming. They needed to do it.
That's the way I feel. It was inevitable when they bought it. It was Game Pass, and then people were like, "Oh, they wouldn't put Call." No, they'll put it on there because they want to try and do something with Game Pass. And it probably will move just because of the popularity of Call of Duty. It probably will do something from, I would imagine.
I'm confused.
What do you got, Kay? Go ahead.
I'm just confused. Why would people pay? So Game Pass is a fantastic place to play indies. It's a fantastic place to play older games. It's great for those day one exclusives. None of them are like Call of Duty. So, I wouldn't pay extra to, are they going to have a cheaper tier where I can just get Call of Duty for the people that just play that shit and, tie in Xbox Live? Because I don't see people paying $25 or even $19.99 to get access to Call of Duty. They're not the same. It's not the same demographic. It's just not. I have a bunch of friends that play Call of Duty. Guess what? They're not subscribed to Game Pass Ultimate. They don't give a shit.
Right.
They just subscribe to Core because they need to get online.
They need to get online. Right.
It.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey,
Kay, I mean, they're gonna make fucking money off of it, but
well, the numbers wouldn't work out for the consumer if you crunch the numbers, because if you do 29, let's say they raise the price up to, I don't know, $30 a month. It's $300 some a year versus
if you're just playing COD.
Exactly. If you don't take advantage of anything else, but. I mean, the other thing that we have to look at is everyone in here and on this panel, we're somewhat informed consumers, right? So, we're on podcasts, we kind of understand. But these corporations and corporations in general, they bank on majority of us consumers. I include myself as being stupid. I mean, when we buy my kids V-Bucks so that they can do a dance in a damn Fortnite game, that's a stupid purchase. And they bank on that. And so I do think I don't think it's going to be a ton that convert over, but I don't think Microsoft cares because they have probably crunched the numbers. And if, like you said, you got some buddies that aren't going to do that, they're going to keep what they currently have and they're just going to buy it. So Microsoft's fine with that because they're purchasing the game anyways. So either way, they don't care.
They do have lots of options, so we'll have to see what they do with it. Like, what if they do something with World of Warcraft?
Exactly.
I think a lot of people who buy the skins and stuff, though, like me, I'm guilty of buying V-Bucks and getting skins on Fortnite. Like what this Fortnite collab, this Fallout collab coming out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna buy the store because I absolutely love Fallout. I mean, like it's not like I've probably spent in the ballpark of £5,000 on League of Legends skins over the past 8 years. Which, thinking back, that's a ridiculous sum of money, but here we are. And I'm an informed consumer, but I did it anyway because I want my characters to look pretty. Sue me. Whatever. But,
That's just shameless, bro. That is shameless. That's King David level crap.
Wait, how is that? That's shameless, but someone else in the gaming community could spend 10,000 on FIFA Ultimate Team.
No, I spent quite a bit on Crossout, so I can understand that.
I buy those things as well in Call of Duty. Now, is it an enormous amount of money spent? No, but I mean, when I see, like, listen, you guys know I'm the most ridiculous Walking Dead fan. You bet your rear end I bought that battle pass when Rick Grimes was in there. Okay, I'm still deploying down, going, I'm Rick Grimes. It doesn't matter. It's gonna happen. All right. I think
the question is, are you still going to get those type of things and deals? Those licenses. With Call of Duty, with a game launching in like that in Game Pass. Like I said, you don't see examples of these multiplayer games evolving or getting more off due to launching into Game Pass. You've seen less of these games. I don't know. I'm not. The history is telling you that you're not going to see that stuff.
When you say deals, what are you talking about? Are you talking about
they will get like the character like Spawn. That's not free stuff. They paying for that license to get those characters in there. I just feel like with Game Pass, you're not going to get those type of things where I could pay for this, get these characters in here like that because you got to fit that bill.
Too bad. Sorry,
it's okay.
I think that I understand what you're saying, but I think from a marketing standpoint, they've probably worked out the numbers, and whoever, like, for example, Snoop Dogg. Okay, let's say that Snoop Dogg comes back. He's going to allow his stuff to go in there because it's good for his brand. It's good for other brands. So if that's what you're referring to in terms of,
I think, like they just had
purchases, they're going to do it. They're not going to say no. I mean,
right. I think that kind of content, Jay, honestly, to answer your question, I think that would still stay there, especially since it seems like it's a hands-off, like another hands-off. But I think Activision's still going to be running that exactly the way that it always has been run. If they're not going to listen, if Microsoft's not going to dabble with the 80 to 100 people at Ninja Theory, they're definitely not going to dabble with the 13,000 or making this machine work. Unless things go really to dire straits. So I don't think it's that as much. But I mean, again, using a small census, because K-Med gave a good example. But like, I'm thinking to myself, when these acquisitions were coming about, we were going through the 2 years of the FTC and the CMA and all that other stuff. It was like, well, everyone's going to like leapfrog from, right? This is going to be a big get. It's going to be a Game Pass and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking to myself, again, small census, guys, so this doesn't mean anything. But everyone has to talk and think about their own real world. Kay gave his example. My friends that have PS5s, and they legitimately, they play NBA 2K, and they play Call of Duty. Like, if I tell them, hey, guys, you won't believe it. For $16.99, you don't have to go spend, for $16.99 a month, you don't have to go pay that $70. You'll get every Call of Duty that was ever made, and it'll all be in there. They're like, dude, I play the newest Call of Duty, and I already have, I'm not going to go spend $500 on an Xbox and then pay $17 a month, right?
It would have made far more sense if they had simply spent that money not on buying the IP, but spending an inordinate amount of money on bolstering Game Pass's perks and the perks in well-known third-party games. Like, imagine exclusive skins, but taken to level 11, right? Where it absolutely
so you have to play. Willie, it goes back to what you were saying earlier when it makes it a place you have. If you want that, you got to play on Xbox.
The only problem with that is
do that. Perks could move the needle far more than giving gamers merely the option to rent a game opposed to buying it. That is not enough of an incentive, and there's still trying to work on that incentive, and it's just not doing it.
Yeah, I think the only problem with that, I mean, because I understand what you're saying, I think the only problem with that and why Microsoft wouldn't want to do that with third party is they want to capitalize. I mean, they want to make as much money as they possibly can, so they want to own it outright and cut out.
I hear what you're saying, but I think actually perks are a lot more affordable, but also they can aggressively tap into the rich market of casual gamers. If they were to target, say they didn't buy Activision for 70 billion, but they spent 2 or 3 billion on across a year on Call of Duty exclusive skins only available via Game Pass, that are banger skins, like banger cosmetics for weapons and people. The in-game monetization that they would get a share from would be astronomical, because it would appeal to the impulse buyers and the rich gamer demographic who tap in to skins and cosmetics.
Yeah, but that's
what if you did the same with Fortnite as well, you know?
Yeah, but the only problem with that is only going to be tied to Xbox users. And right now, because they did
PC Game Pass.
Yeah, but hold on just a second. That's a most. You're talking skins versus now, because they own the entire studio, they are going to make far more money than if they just were getting money off the skins from people purchasing it within Game Pass. I mean, that is a small amount compared to
the risk of ruining a good thing, though.
Well, they don't care about that. That's the problem. I mean, when you're talking corporate business, they don't care about that. They care, how can we maximize our profits? And if we were to go and spend, let's say, $5 billion to get those skins, where we only get money if they buy it in their Game Pass users, versus we're going to go spend a large chunk and we get money from everybody when they make a purchase. That's far more money.
That just goes straight back to what I was saying before, doesn't it? That Game Pass necessitates acquisitions on a huge scale to even work. It's a Trojan, you know it. And I do agree with you there. But I think a far healthier option that would have if they hadn't have gone that route, where day one necessitating acquisitions on a mass scale, and they had gone with a competitive subscription service that's non-invasive but still market penetrative, it would have been such a great alternative to PS Plus. That would have appealed to all PC gamers as well who play Call of Duty and Fortnite on PC. That Game Pass offers perks on well-known, well-established third-party games that you can't get anywhere else. I think that would have been a great option. And maybe releasing games 6 months after release on Game Pass, earlier than PS Plus library releases first-party exclusives on PS Plus. Maybe they would say, and in addition to all these perks that you get and all these cosmetics, you release our game 6 months after release on Game Pass. You know, like something like that. It would have been far healthier.
Yeah,
I think.
But pulling out is harder than, you know.
That's right. And you're talking healthy for the consumer, right? And I completely understand what you're saying.
The industry,
but they don't give a rat's ass about that. They care about the health for their bottom dollar. And we basically have two different conversations. We have the health of the industry and the health as what we care about as consumers. And then we're also talking about Microsoft and the money that they make, which I don't give a rat's ass what they make, because they're going to jack the price up. But
this is why I was against people cheerleading this from the beginning, because they were cheerleading what benefits Microsoft and not what actually benefits them in the long term. Mad.
Yeah. Well, I got a couple super chats here, guys, and I do have a couple topics I really want to go the fire around here with you guys. So shout out real quick. Magnum Gaming says Hellblade 2 may be episodic. Now, this is something we were talking about Hellblade at the time. 7 years is too long for the amount of content presented. Episodic makes sense for Game Pass. The next Hellblade is greenlit. Well, that may be fine, and I hear you, Magnum, but even if it's greenlit, I mean, you're talking about they came out and said in 2019 when they were at the Xbox Series X reveal at the Game Awards that they didn't even start yet at that point. They only had the trailer. So, I mean, you're talking about 2019 to 2024. So, I mean, 2029, we're looking at the next episode. Yeah, that's a very long wait. Shout out to Stop Madness. And we'll talk about this for a second. Microsoft might be going after Steam or partnering up. The partnering up thing, a lot of people are saying might happen on the next Xbox. I still think that's a maybe. Buying Steam, at least with the numbers we saw, many people in the industry said that, and even the Xbox folks that follow in the industry said that the numbers revealed in that rumor were really just didn't make any sense. So Stop Madness. I don't think you're going to see that happen as far as them buying Steam. Partnering up, we'll wait.
Can you imagine trying to buy Steam and going up to Gabe, who is the lord of PC gaming, undisputed king, sits on his throne, pile of riches, and you have to approach him and go, "Hey, I want to buy you." He'll tell you to turn around and piss off.
Turn around, walk until your feet hurt, right? That's right, Singer. Yeah.
And he'll make sure the door hits you on the way out. But at the same time, I could see him kind of working together because from his previous quotes and talks when he was talking about them buying Activision and whatnot, he advocated for Xbox. He's not exactly opposed to Microsoft and Xbox, so they could work out something in the future for sure. That could be a possibility.
No, I could totally see that.
With Microsoft, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. You could tell he's kind of like, oh yeah, I'm pretty cool with these dudes.
Well, think about it, but why wouldn't he, right? I mean, they do go hand in hand. I mean, in order to enjoy his games, you have to have Windows.
Mm-hmm.
So enjoy Microsoft, he does. Absolutely. The Elemental Hero says, someone had brought up many points on COD being on Game Pass. COD doesn't need Game Pass, and we could possibly see it hurt studios, devs, publishers where they close. I don't know who that is. I'm just saying that's a possibility, Elemental Hero. I do want to go on to another subject here because unless somebody really has something on this subject, I wanted to just get a couple of real good rounds in here with some of these topics. Jay Barry, one of the topics that you love to talk about, it is the gaming media. And so this is a bit alarming. We've been sitting here for the past 3 years talking about acquisitions within gaming and publishers and developers, IP. But now IGN Entertainment acquires Eurogamer, GI, VG247, Rock Paper Shotgun, and more. What does this mean for us, Jay? Now that you have you already had a large media outlet, they've now taken on a lot more under that umbrella. Sounds like we might get, one voice going out. What does this mean for the consumer?
To be honest, I have to see their overall plan because I see IGN as wanting to control the narrative when it comes to games media. Having a foothold in the tech side of things with Digital Foundry, Eurogamer, really and truly, what I thought about when I saw this news was the Game Awards. So IGN pretty much is the entire panel. You know what I mean? Everything's on the IGN now. But overall, I haven't seen any real statements from them, or I might have missed one where they really go into detail as far as what they're going to be doing with each of these entities or these these media outlets. So I don't really know, but it's definitely looking spooky. Just on a level, because I personally don't rock with IGN, especially after the whole Kai Cenat thing. I just mute them and keep it moving, to be honest with you, but we'll see.
So Kay, I'll go to you on this one because it's interesting, right? I mean, we do, and I don't mean you guys listening in the chat or the panel. You guys might say, well, Mooch, I don't care. I go by my own opinion. I have my circle that I listen to. That's fine. But Kay, there's a lot of people when I start saying IGN, Eurogamer, GI, and I know some
terrible news.
It's not good, right? I mean, it's I like their
terrible news.
Some of them said they'll remain independent, but some won't.
You look at the advertisements that normies see, out on Twitter and guess what's on them? Review scores. Right? So, I mean, if Microsoft or PlayStation or whoever slips a check to IGN and they have 10 outlets, there's your whole pictograph, infogram of the review scores. Done.
Yep.
I mean,
Metacritic is bent.
Right, that's conspiratorial in a way, but I mean, the reviews already
No,
kind of
Polygon
suck,
were guilty of that, bro. That's absolutely what happened with Polygon. Polygon accepted bribes. The chief editor told and dictated what score the reviewer
and that
could give
can
the game.
affect sales, right? And I mean, if it affects sales, then it could affect the outcome of the game, which would affect the outcome of the dev. I mean, it all trickles down. I don't like that level of consolidation, especially in this form. It's almost worse to me than businesses acquiring like studios, because this is like forward facing, right? I mean, these influence purchases and people. So I don't know how they just let that be. Maybe because it's games, right? And it doesn't matter. But if it were news, right, I think people would be like, that's a little weird. I know there's big news conglomerates out there already, and I hate that too. So I view it the same way. I think it's fucking terrible.
Yeah, I mean, Kofi, what do you think when you see stuff like this? Like I say, I think that especially when you do a lot of your research, overseas and what's going on with games, that's great because you're maybe getting a different outlet. What about, what's your thought when you see this? Because I think Kay kind of brings up a couple of good examples and concerns. And that was one of the things that I was thinking. I'm thinking, a lot of the folks came out and said, well, we're independent still. We're still independent. That's fine. And I believe them. I believe them. But I just, you never know when the parent company might step in. I mean, and I'm seeing Casual 7 saying, Mooch, Digital Foundry has a partnership with Eurogamer to publish their analysis on written articles, but otherwise they're on their own. That's fine. That's great. I just hope it stays that way with those certain instances. But will we know after this news, right? After that, this dredges up and then it kind of settles. Do we know what goes on behind the scenes until somebody says what happened years later? I don't know.
Definitely a concern. I feel like when there are some financial struggles in the future, some of these independent reviewers that would be reviewing smaller games, kind of giving awareness to games that go under the radar, might be required to get more views by reviewing more popular games. And then I feel like somebody with a lot of time is going to do a deep dive sometime in the future and look at how similarly games are reviewed if they're under the same parent company. Like, is there a wide variety of opinions where the Metacritic score ranges maybe 15 points, 10 points, or are they all really, really close? And I think people will make the argument that we need to kind of break this up because they are now 30% of a Metacritic score, right?
Yeah.
This game got a 72 because these 5 significant reviewers just all gave it a 75.
Yeah.
And that's what really concerns me, because we've seen now that when you bring on a lot of different companies under your umbrella and then financial issues happen, I'm going to start forcing people to do this because either I'm going to shut down people or I want everybody to stay on board and say, you can't go review that cool new indie game that just came out. I want you to go review the next AAA game. So that sucks.
The control of information on a crazy level. I don't even know how it's allowed, because what they've in essence done is acquired a huge portion of their competitors and sized them down. It's mad to me. It is crazy how this was actually permitted to happen.
The majority of the IGN people have been very quiet about it too. Like, I don't see employees already speaking. They probably got non-enclosure agreement. Like, listen, don't say nothing. Let's let it pan out.
That is the wild thing, how there was no scrutiny or anything, because you're buying competitors. Like, no one raised an eyebrow. It's just like, we now own all of you. Okay, cool. I mean, I don't rely on them anyway. All of them are all trash. I go to my favorite YouTubers for my opinions and reviews on games.
That's right.
Because all they regurgitate.
So, Singer, but you said, no, but I want to kind of just piggyback what you're saying. You're right. We do that, and people in the chat do that, and people listening later do what you do. But what K-Med said kind of makes sense, right? You're talking about like casuals that are like, I'm interested in this game. I'm just going to go look at the score. I'm going to IGN, or they're just going there. They don't have their favorite. Some people don't have their favorite YouTuber or their favorite game reviewer or their favorite smaller channel. They're just going to these big publications, rightfully so, right? They've been doing it forever.
You're
gonna Google it, man.
A big get.
Yeah.
You're a gamer is a big get because that covers your reviews and it covers Digital Foundry. That is a big get for them. That's a huge amount of views that people, regardless on what it is, you're gonna go towards that because when they drop their analysts as far as the games and all that stuff, people check that stuff out. That's a
as
huge
a new
get.
father, as a new dad, right? I pulled away from Twitter scene for 6 months and focused on my family and stuff. And let me tell you, right? You will not believe if you guys did what I did, you would be shocked at how you don't trust anything you hear on when it comes to gaming news or on IGN or even Skill Up. Like you question, well, will his weekly news drop just be parroting what he's heard off as the trending narrative and isn't actually what's been technically said? Look at how Totoki's words were misconstrued and the report about Sony's hardware sales being down was completely taken out of context to a crazy degree because they were actually doing incredibly well. But like the trending narrative and what's portrayed in the news is hardly ever accurate. Like only the relative few here on Twitter in the know will know this, and it's like it's scary when you consider, well, this is going to now be the case. The majority of people who get their news from these main source outlets are hearing information that they want people to think, and it's not actually the truth. And I'm not trying to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but all I'm saying is we need Nib to create a website, guys. So we need where's Nib? If you can hear me, brother, now's the time. Now it's now or never, bro. Like get that website set up, bro. Like hire a few people in the know. Hire Kofi.
Yeah.
You know, and
exactly. Get Kofi in there. So just real quick, while we're on the topic, it's related to IGN, but not the same subject here. The senior editor, I'll leave his name out. You guys can mention if you want. IGN senior editor comments on Neal Druckmann's latest statements and concerning in his game, and it was called him arrogant. So the thing I'm just looking here to see here, The Last of Us, an Uncharted developer, Naughty Dog's next game, could redefine mainstream perceptions of gaming, according to studio head Neal Druckmann. That was the quote that Neal said. And the senior editor felt that it was a bit arrogant to say certain things that he was saying. I think that when it comes down to it, Jay Barry, what do you think? I actually, it's one of those things. It's kind of like Babe Ruth pointing to the fence, right? Or, when if Michael Jordan was like, I'm going to win another championship in the 90s, I'd be like, yeah, I totally believe you. You know what I mean? Like, you're amazing. You're the best. You're the GOAT. Like, when you have somebody like Neal, and I know there's a lot of people that don't like Neal, but just hear me out for a second. Like, they've won tremendous awards. Their games have been tremendously successful time after time. You do have to look at pedigree, and you do have to look at, repetition and success. Not just that, but then, of course, he even took his talent to directing in HBO, and he's won awards there. My point being is if he's going to come out and say, hey, we're changing something. Kojima said that a number of times, too. Kojima said, I'm going to change the way I make games when he went that Death Stranding route. And yeah, don't get me wrong, that was taken with a bit of criticism, but anything new gets criticism. I didn't really think it was arrogant. I thought it was more artistic to say I'm taking my talents in another direction and changing things in the way we play games, which could redefine mainstream perception of gaming. I thought that was... I actually was excited to hear that. I was like, well, what do we say as gamers all the time? Give us something new. Give us a different experience, And I thought that was an interesting comment coming from the senior editor. I believe he's the senior editor anyways. So, Jay, what did you think when you heard that? Because, I mean, everybody knows I'm a Last of Us ridiculous fan. I mean, so I'm biased. I put it out there. But I got excited. Anybody that's of a higher tier that's been in the industry for so long tells us to prepare for something completely different, something we've never experienced. I kind of get excited for games like that.
Yeah, I didn't see that as arrogance at all. I just see that somebody that's pretty, I wouldn't say arrogant, but I would say they're pretty confident in what they're going to deliver. Like, I got a lot of faith in Naughty Dog. I just wish that it wasn't just speak or text. We can see what you are doing, because at the end of the day, they haven't really delivered anything new in the past 4 years. And the lasting biggest announcement is a canceled game. So coming off and saying something like this, it better change, gaming or whatnot. But I didn't look at it as arrogant. I just think he's just pretty proud of what he's pretty much delivering, and hopefully we see it soon. But
I bet if it was Todd Howard, that individual would have offered to wash his car, get him a new jacket, take his dog for a walk, shine his shoes to get a little scoop on what it might be coming up.
That's a good point though, because I think it was Eric Jackson actually in the same tweet, because I saw the comment and I was like, oh, this is kind of funny seeing it from that person. But Eric Jackson was like, is it arrogant for when Microsoft said that with the Xbox Series X it eats monsters for breakfast, or this? You know what I mean? Like, is that an arrogant comment? You know what I mean? Like, no, it's just that they're pretty confident in what they're showmen. They're gonna want to sell you on what they're producing. They want to sell you on a product.
It's jealousy, bro. That's all it is. The man has split his career between 10 years writing for Xbox Magazine and another 12 years writing for IGN. That's it. That's all he's got. It's jealousy. I'm calling it as it is, man. He's jealous. He's an Xbox fanboy, and he's a jealous dude. And it struck a nerve, and he tweeted before he should have saved that as a fucking draft.
Yeah, I mean, when you're a senior editor and you have a lot of eyes on you, and the thing is, that's the thing, to kind of just piggyback a bit, like if that's your bread and butter, I mean, God, like you say, sitting down and doing an interview with Neil Druckmann, that's a big deal for an IGN. I mean, you're going to get a lot of clicks, you're going to get a lot of views for that. To come out and call him that, I mean, would Neil want to sit down and have a conversation now? I don't know. I'm not going to say yes or no. I have no idea, but I'll tell you,
isn't it?
If that was my business, I mean, if I owned a pizzeria, I'm not going to make fun of the guy who makes the sauce I buy.
And Druckmann is all up about himself, and that's okay.
He is.
He's the best at what he fucking does, and he's.
I'm not going to lie, bro. I'm not going to lie. If I had made Uncharted 4, and when you look back at the year that it released and how it looks to this day, and plays, I would be up my own ass completely. I would be far up my own ass.
I don't like Hideo, but he's got his shit and he's done amazing things. I think he's full of himself. So what? I'm not gonna go say it.
Well,
as an editor, I'll say it as me.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say it as the editor.
A very humble man.
I personally dislike both of them, but obviously, even if I was senior, I wouldn't have said.
Shut up, you Xbox fanboy.
No.
But you would have saved it in your drafts, man.
I would have saved it because I wouldn't have gone out like that publicly, especially when you did an interview with them.
It's IGN did the same thing with Arrowhead. Bro. They did the same thing just this week with Arrowhead's CEO. Their headline article from the interview was Arrowhead are going to claim they want to be the next Blizzard or something like that. And it was clearly mocking them, right? But he never said that. It was a mischaracterization. He was saying that when he was younger, he really wanted to work at Blizzard because they were the guys to work for. They were on the top of their game, and that's what he wants for Arrowhead. And it's when you factor in that context, he's saying something completely different. But they interviewed and they ran with this headline that was quite disrespectful, really, and didn't capture the spirit of what was being said at the time. So yeah, I think they're going to. It's just ugly, man. I just hate.
Yeah, the comment just comes off real abrasive,
And now they own all the other media outlets.
Yo, I was
just about to say that.
Yo, we was on the same. Everybody was about to say the same thing because
all of them.
Now you can say comments like that because you control the whole media. You can't.
Right?
I just don't want to see Destin's smug face. Destin's smug face. Oh my days! I just can't cope, bro. I just don't want to see it.
I'm just not surprised by it. I mean, you see some of the tweets that they put out from the main account of IGN. I mean, look what they did to Kai. That was one of the dumbest things. I mean,
very disrespectful.
Yeah,
extremely disrespectful. What the guy did, and in terms of playing through Elden Ring and had so many people watching him, and it was just just a really cool moment to see him do something like that. And then you go back even to when they didn't get review codes for Suicide Squad. My God, you would have thought someone took their firstborn baby away from him and took out for a freaking sacrifice.
Yeah.
When it comes to the games media, most of them, in my opinion, not all, but it's just glorified content creators who farm AdSense.
Well, the thing is, and it goes for news across the board. It goes for news across the board. News went from where news used to be. It came out when it came out, like we were saying, Nintendo Power, right? Right, that magazine came out once a month, and you got fed what they gave you. You had to wait a month. And now it's like, what have you done for me lately? So now it's part news and it's just a lot of opinion. And that's why, I think a lot of people have turned to podcasters, influencers, and people that are on YouTube because they can connect a little bit more one-on-one with that individual, and maybe they have similar interests. Like there's people who have just Souls-like related games, from software or from games. And that's you're able to connect with that. You say, well, I like those games. That's all I play. Cool. That's what, right? So that's what they play. I'm going to trust this person and their review because we have more similarities than just somebody who it says, whoever the author was of the article. You don't know who that is. You don't know what they play. They just wrote an article based upon, because their editor was like, here, you're reviewing this. And you're like, oh, okay, thanks.
You know what's crazy about the editors as well? They'll post the most dumbest takes, especially IGN. Kotaku as well. I especially hate them. They come up with some of the most stupidest shit that you would have to be like a 3-year-old with a coloring book and a juice box. And you sat there and wrote the article. Like, it's so... And then as soon as everyone rebels against them, they instantly private their accounts and tweets. And it's like, so you don't even want discourse. You just put your opinion out there, and it's like, okay, now I'm going to step back because I know everyone's going to revolt against it. But then it was like when they were like, oh, World of Warcraft could come to console. World of Warcraft this, It's like, are you dumb or are you stupid? It's never coming to console. It's way too complicated to be transferred over to controller. There were way too many buttons, way too many mechanics required. It's never going to happen. You're stupid. Shut up. Don't talk about games. But guess what? I'm the senior director at IGN. That means I get to say whatever I want and then private my account, and there's no comeback, and I'm going to get millions of clicks on my article.
Well, that's not just
Death
the article.
Singer is living proof. Death Singer is living proof that not being an Xbox fan anymore instantly makes you more intelligent.
No, I've always been intelligent. I just, flew the flag for the green side, all right?
I just think, these are the same groups that picked the Game Awards. They get the predominant vote for choosing the Game Awards. Yeah. And at some point, I don't know the answer to it, in terms of journalism as a whole. I'm with you guys. I pay attention to content creators, podcasts. I don't look at that shit anymore. I don't care to watch it because, like I said, they just farm stuff. You can tell they put out stuff and what they did with Kai and some of the others. I don't pay attention to it. I thought that it was, when you run a site like that, you need to be above some of those things, and it's shown I actually think, time after time that they're not.
Yeah, Seeds, you make a good point there. I actually think if they went more on that straight line, they would actually get more and more people to
I think so.
Watch their content. I really, really do.
It was a straight lie because he didn't incite any type of riot or whatnot.
No,
it was.
They didn't even know the article. They didn't even know the news or what happened. But it was quick to write something like that after he beats Elden Ring. It had nothing to do with Elden Ring.
And that
you got a case there for defamation. They put something out there that was not true. He wasn't found guilty of anything.
True.
That's a pretty big.
Imagine saying the incited a riot.
But it was, everyone's overlooking too is how much attention the guy brought for the game, Elden Ring.
Exactly.
Elden Ring became.
I'm sure Bandai was in their HQ popping champagne, hiring strippers coming over.
They tweeted about it quickly.
When he beat Melania, it was incredible.
Yeah,
bro.
That was
just cool. That was a cool moment.
Yeah, it was like when
somebody struggle and get through it.
Yeah,
and I've used my F word for the month. They they just took that to a new low, man. When they did that to him, you know, it took it to a new low of quote unquote journalism. You know, just when I thought I couldn't believe they did that, I was like, it doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So here's a quick question for you guys, because the audience is asking left and right about this. I want to ask you guys your opinion. And again, I'll start with the great Jay Bari here. Jay, are we getting a showcase? Is there a showcase next week?
Yeah, man. I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to say yes, because looking at the past, like last year, a lot of things is falling into place. But listen, I'm like 70%, but I'm going to lean towards being optimistic and say we will get a showcase, most likely soon. Like I don't know when. I can't say.
Okay, so here's the
listen. They better have a showcase.
Jay.
The fuck, yeah, my bad.
It's okay. Go.
They better have a showcase because
you're right.
They can't stay another year. It's a goddamn shame that PlayStation Studios, we don't know what they're doing with the majority of their studios.
That's right.
You know what I mean? I'm sick and tired of these articles that say, "Oh, we're working on this. We're doing this. We're going to change gaming here. Oh, we're cooking. We're doing that." And then and we're not seeing nothing, man. Yeah, I'm loving PlayStation. I'm having a great time with PlayStation. This year alone is amazing, but I want to see what first party is doing. And I feel like the way how they marketing first party has been panning out for them. It's been working. But me personally, I want to know, years before a game is coming out, because I want to see the progression. I don't want to see this bullshit of 3 months down the line and then the game come out 3 months later or whatnot. I want to see the progression, like how PS4. I felt like that was the perfect marketing, where you show the game 3 years, 2 years, and then you continue to showcase the game, talk about the game, build that anticipation, and then boom, the game releases. If a game get delayed, it get delayed. We live in this period now where games get delayed, but I don't want to be in the dark about PlayStation 5. You know what I mean? Because now we're in the mid portion of the generation.
Yeah.
And majority of the first party studios, we don't know what the fuck. We don't know what the hell they're doing. You know what I mean? So they need to do a show.
Just let them cook, man.
Just let them
cook.
Let them cook.
The last time they said that, we got a game canceled. We got a game canceled.
I want my PS5 Pro. I want my Ghost of Tsushima 2. I want my Death Stranding 2 gameplay trailer.
Well, let me ask you a question, Bari. Just really quick, or really to the whole panel. Do you think that the leadership at some of these developers have some say in whether they should be revealing something? Like, for example, when God of War was released and we saw his name is Christopher Judge, right? Christopher Judge told everybody that he had been injured and that had delayed some of the process of God of War. Do you think things like that allow leadership, let's say at Sucker Punch, or let's say at Housemarque, or let's say at Studio Bend? They're like, we're just getting over this particular difficult part, and if you give us some say, we're going to wait. And PlayStation's like, cook. Do you think that that's more normal now, or maybe I'm being a conspiracy theorist? I don't know.
The thing is, what I don't like is that they're going into a lot of these live service games as well, but we're learning about these live service games like 6 months, 7 months apart. Helldivers 2 was showing the last year at the June showcase. The game came out in February. So we're not really seeing like a real progression, like a alpha, a beta, to even give any type of feedback. Just delivering what it is. Oh, we're cooking. We're hoping it's the best. But no, there was those type of game. You need some type of feedback. With the other studios, I understand that it takes some time, and they want to be perfect. They want to showcase the stuff. But I'm just so used to the PS4 way of marketing. E3 2016. We saw God of War 2 years before the game came out. We saw Days Gone 3 years before the game came out. Spider-Man 2 years before the game came out, and they consistently build up until that. I like that approach more than 6 months before the game came out, 3 months before the game came out. That's just me. That's just a me problem.
Yeah, that traditional Jay. I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
I personally think they just blew their load at the start of the generation, and now games take 6 years to make. fuck knows. Some games take 10 years to make these days. And it's probably only going to get worse. So, like, if you blow your load at the beginning of the gen, you're like, well, shit, now we're going to have to wait 5 years. So if the gen starts in 2020, you'll be looking at least 2025 for your next game, right? So
I'm somewhat hopeful, bro, that they've had a change of heart recently in the last, since these cutbacks. I'm hoping that it's kind of scared them into realizing things are getting a bit silly now. Look at Spider-Man 2. They had just 3 writers on Spider-Man 2018, and it was a masterpiece of writemanship. It was an absolute beautiful, intimate, curated fandom work of art, right? And then Spider-Man 2 feels like a B-tier Disney movie in the writing department, and yet there was like 16 writers on the team. Like, there was like 10 times more writers and not 10, like 6 or 7 times more writers on Spider-Man 2 and on the first game, which then it's a go figure moment. That's why it felt soulless, right, in my opinion, and just wasn't great.
And shame on me. Singer and I were having a great conversation before the show, and we were talking about gamers' attention spans and how they've kind of gone down as far as like with game, like a game like Civ 5, right? And I'm tying this into this, is kind of reduced, so they're watching that. There may be less of those types of how was it designated, Singer? How did they say it in that article?
It's basically that gamers are less interested with deep strategy because of the cognitive. Because what happened was they collected 9 years of data, Quantic Foundry, and they use different data points, and the categories are destruction, excitement, competition, community, challenge, strategy, completion, power, fantasy, story, and discovery and design, right? So it covers all of gaming, right? All games fall under one of those categories. Now, all of them have been stable apart from strategy. And it's like, if you compare to 2015, 67% less gamers now care about sitting down and playing RTS games, for example, because back then it was really popular. And it's because social media like Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, they have accelerated the problem of the genre, whereas people now, they're so cognitively bombarded by all these news, all the Twitter and everything, so they don't have the headspace. They simply, as it says here, they are just worn out by social media to think deeply about things in games. Because in these games, you have to think about all the things. Like, you have to think about what's your plan, who you're going to ally with, what's your diplomacy. You have to think of all your resources, and then you have to who you're going to war. You have to. There's a whole lot of thinking before you make your next move, and people just aren't that these days. These days, their attention span is Fortnite, Call of Duty. They just want to pick up a game, minimal brain effort required. Like, think of all the games out now. How much of them actually require you to think a lot? How much do you have to sit there and think? Very few games, because a lot of games you just pick up and just blaze through it. Like, the story's told to you. You just like, okay, cool, whatever.
But that Singer, you should be playing the best game to come out this year, the best game to come out this generation, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and you'll get what you want. But you don't want to play it on PlayStation. You want to wait, you want to wait. You got a PlayStation, go ahead and play the best game to come out this generation.
Final Fantasy VII is good, but it's not, it's not as deep as like what they're saying, where it requires so much brain power to think about the game.
Yes, it does. Go for the platinum on that game and tell me how you feel. You're crazy.
He's a real gamer, bro. I'm flipping that.
not to the extent of trying to play out a game of Civ, right? These are these levels to complexity, right? So obviously that comes down to where now RTS is becoming. It was niche, and now it's basically dying out because people have the attention span of a fly. So I mean,
yeah, he was saying the article was the studies are showing that gamers are playing less and less of the games that you have to even maybe sometimes take notes. You have to pay attention. You have to really dig deep into the items that not only you're crafting, but the items that you pick up and where you would use them and which foes they are best against and which areas and blah blah blah. And I want to come back to this. The reason I had actually Singer go off on this a bit of a tangent, because it was a great conversation we were having before the show, was that I'm going back to who was just saying a moment ago. I can't remember who was saying it about why we don't have the games from the showcase, and we need to see what's going on and letting them cook and this and that. The reason I'm tying this all back in is if we all have short-term memory. They don't remember this thing. They don't want to actually do their homework. If you think back to it, PlayStation legitimately, to a certain extent, is doing what they did in the PS4 era. The 2015, the end of 2014, 2015, it was dry. And then they came out guns blazing with their big guns, with the Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us, The Last of Us 2. You know what I mean? And it was like,
was incredible,
right? That Stranding, and they did all these games, and they were one after it was hit after hit after hit. Okay, and it led us right up into the PS5 era, and everyone has that short-term memory of just like, man, Sony didn't stop. They didn't stop giving me AAA blockbuster games. It was unbelievable. And you still have Sucker Punch. You still have what Corey Balrog's working on. Sony Santa Monica's probably working on something else. Neil Druckmann's working on that one single-player IP and then something else. It's like they're still out there, and they're going to hit you at the end. And then as you go into PS6, you're just going to remember PS5 was just amazing. It's just you're in now. What Sony does very well is while they're in their drought of first party, they try to flood you with third party. And I thought they've done that, and I think they've done a decent. Listen, you guys are the jury, not me. If you guys all say I didn't like the games they provided, that's fine. But I thought this year so far has been pretty damn good for not having a first party game outside of Hell.
This year is excellent.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy.
Outside of Helldivers too, it's been pretty damn good. It's been pretty good.
They've done a good job. Mooch, I'm going to answer this. I got to jump. I got a 3:30 wake up for a flight.
Go ahead, Seeds.
I do know that they have, for the PlayStation studios, they have checkpoints that they go along and meet. And the game does not get shown until they have arrived at certain thresholds and checkpoints. From my understanding, going forward, they may do some teasers every once in a while, but going forward, you're going to see things 12 to 15 months out. They're not going to show you stuff outside of that. That's a policy. That could change because you do have 2 new CEOs, but from my understanding, that is supported by Herman Hulst, who is staying on the PlayStation Studio side. I'll be very transparent in terms of the showcase. I was told several weeks ago by someone who works at a PlayStation Studio that the showcase was going to be this week. And I followed up with that person. I was like, hey, that's why I was pretty confident with the date, the time, and the duration. And I followed up. I was like, hey, what's going on with that showcase? So got pushed back, and I don't know what date it is. So if I had to guess, it's going to be next week on the 29th or 30th. But if the reason I wanted to say that is I made that prediction here, and if I'm going to stick my chest out and say I'm making this prediction, I also have to wear it and have the nuts to say I was wrong on this date and this time. So I wanted to put that out there before I jump as well, because I did make that prediction. But I do think the showcase will probably be next week, and I do think that one prediction I'll make, I think we'll see God of War Ragnarok at Jeff Keighley's show going to PC. I think they'll give that to him. I don't know if you guys have any predictions on that as well, but I do think they'll give that to Keighley, and we'll see that. So
I am still bitter about that game. So bitter.
Yeah, but I just wanted to say that I appreciate if you're wrong, you got to be able to wear it.
No, you followed up, and I would say this much. Here's my only thought, and this is just going by history, right? History always repeats itself. So I think when it comes down to it, is I think that if it is next week, it's more of a state of play, right? Because Jay Barry, would you agree with me on this? If a showcase is something it's a big event, it's glorious, whether it's Xbox or not. Look at Xbox. Xbox revealed that they're going to do their show on June 9th a very long time ago. Like, you don't say, hey, we're going to have the most ridiculous showcase. When? Tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, what? It's just, there's a lot of ramp up. There's excitement. It causes a buzz. It gets podcasts talking about it for a few weeks. It's got people doing videos. The Sony channels all blow up, right? So if there's a showcase on the horizon, I would think it's going to be, maybe it'll be more traditional. They may go the week after Xbox. Remember when E3 was? PlayStation would always go after Xbox was on stage. Now I'm just making that more up to date. If Xbox goes June 9th, maybe PlayStation goes a week or two after them. I mean, and I'm making that up. I have no idea. But I'm saying, like, that would make more sense to give the lead up and the hype. Do you guys see that? I mean, how can you say we've got the craziest showcase you've ever wanted to see in 4 hours? What? 4 hours? It's just too short. If it's next week, I think it's a state of play.
Didn't they create their own stage, Mooch, like a few years back? Am I remembering this right?
I'm not saying their preparation. I'm saying preparation for media and outlets.
Didn't they create their own actual arena?
To be fair, last year they announced the showcase a week before it actually broadcast. So
it was a week before, Jay?
Yeah, it was like the 17th. They was like, you're invited to May 24th, I think it was. Showcase then. But I hear you. But like I said, I'm going to optimistic approach. I think they need to have a proper showcase. I think a showcase will be great for each year, especially you have a lot of the first party studios that, you know, we need to know what they're working on. Because at the end of the day, you got 3 more years, you know, 4 the most of this generation. Why aren't you revealing the game? You revealed Death Stranding 2 when? Was it last year? They revealed that at the Game Awards or something. That game coming out 2025. So why isn't it your own first party, you know, studio games being revealed, you know, within that time span? So I don't know. So yeah, they need to have a showcase.
Just a thought. Yeah, shout out to the great Babora Contra. He says they've published more on PC than PS5 this gen. Sad. Babora, the big PS5 fan. Shout out to Babora. Fake Man Bear Pig. He says, I hope everyone is having an amazing game. Amazing gaming tonight. Go Braves. Hang in there, Mooch. Yeah, well, it's another bad year for the Mets. What are you going to do? I think we're down. We're 7 games below 500, which means we'll see you guys. We'll see you next year. Fake Man Bear Pig. We'll see. Big Braves fan. Oh, those Braves fans. They come out of everywhere. That being said, I do want to say shout out to Mash. Mash came in last minute. Mash, you must be working, buddy. Hopefully the podcast kept you entertained while you were working. Mash donated 10 gifted subs again. Guys, please do consider when MASH does this and it lasts for a month, subscribing and resubscribing and becoming part of the channel. It means the world to me. Like I said, we do this. We do twitch.tv. I've kept these guys for 2.5 hours. 2 of them, one in Wales, one in the UK. One of them, these guys, it's legitimately, what is it, 3? It's 2:30 in the morning over there. I mean, this is crazy. These guys.
Hey, Mooch.
What do you got, Singer?
Mooch. He's England, not the UK is everyone.
Oh, that's right. My apologies. That's right.
Welsh
He's
boy
England.
from the
England and
Wales. The hills without a Welsh accent is jealous.
Sorry about
that. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, but hey, at least when I go up to North Wales, I can actually understand what they're saying, right?
You dropped your accent, boyo. You dropped your accent. Where's your accent, boyo?
But that's because South Wales. But that also means
South Wales.
But I did learn, you know, well. So when I go to North Wales, I'm not a bit confused because that's one of the most hilarious things.
I do want to say this though, Singer. I want to say shout out to the entire UK, because one of the things that I do get a chance to see on people that always check out the show, big UK audience. It is amazing. The number is staggering. And I can't say thank you enough. So shout out to everybody from the UK there. But you know, Singer says that, and he gets me on that one. He's got me on that one. He got me. But that's funny, because if Singer came over to the States and he's hanging out with somebody from Boston, he'd be like, oh, you sound like Mooch. And I'm like, that's not the same thing. Massachusetts and New York, not the same. Oh, you sound similar. I don't think so. Right, Jay? Jay, help me out, please.
Absolutely, I'm with you.
Thank you. Us New Yorkers have to stick together. That being said, I want to say shout out to everybody that's here, guys. Thank you for an outstanding show tonight. I got to tell you, I had a lot of fun. You know, I worked all day. These guys are going to work. Some of them are probably going to work in like 3 or 4 hours. But I want to say shout out to this amazing panel. I'll go in reverse order here. Guys, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button before you guys leave. Your name comes up in lights. Shout out to everybody. Thanks for the super chats, guys. It means the world to me. Thank you, Mash, again for the gifted subs. Kofi, the great Kofi's with us here. Kofi, it's hard to get a hold of you, Kofi. I'm gonna have to get your Discord. I have your Discord. I'm gonna have to get a hold of you on Discord.
It's completely my fault.
No, that's not your fault at all, buddy. You're busy. But nonetheless, thank you for being here, buddy. It's always wonderful when you're a part of the show. Let everybody know where they can find you. And you were rumored, you said a little rumor there a couple weeks ago when you were on the show that you're going to be having your own podcast. People need to know about it. Let them know.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So it is kind of a rebirth of a podcast I started back in 2019. It is called the Vitamin G Podcast. And me and my best friend we prefer opposite platforms, and we kind of use that as an entertainment piece. So he loves Xbox. And, obviously I love PlayStation, and we just go back and forth, but we also have a PC gamer's perspective and a Nintendo Switch gamer's perspective. And so we kind of all discuss, gaming topics from all those perspectives, and definitely really exciting. Mondays, 8 p.m., 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern, and we are going every Monday. I've kind of been on a resurgence of coming back to gaming more, so please check us out there. But as usual, I am also on Twitter or X, creative_Kofi, playing some imports that will be coming in June and July. So I'm very excited to be posting those things. I'm still knee deep in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and getting through Stellar Blade and getting through Rise of the Ronin,
yes,
and through Unicorn Overlord. So it's just a lot.
Oh,
but
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh man, Jay, I got to talk to you about Final Fantasy. But once I get through a lot of the games that came out in the last 2 months, I'll be way more active on Twitter. I'm just using all of my free time to just game. So that's why I've been a little bit silent on X, but looking forward to seeing y'all guys. Oh, and Wooly and Mooch, K-Med, Jay Bari, Death Singer, everybody who was there. It was great talking with you today. Yeah, looking forward to the next time.
Appreciate
I can't
it,
wait
Kofi.
to check out your podcast, Kofi. Honestly, I'm buzzing to hear. Mate, I love hearing you speak. So yeah,
I appreciate you, man. Much love to you, Wooly, man. Seriously.
Thank you, Kofi. I appreciate that. The great K-Med was with us. K, thank you very much, by the way. We didn't hit that heat wave yet over here in New York. And I saw you down there in the Dominican Republic, I believe.
I was having a good time.
And I said, you know what? I said, mate, K-Man would make a great neighbor. Maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe
yeah, man.
Retire, move down there.
Game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, come retire with me, bro.
Kay,
be a good time.
Kay's got the high life, and I love every second of it. Kay, I got to tell you, as much as I'd like that, I actually like you on Twitter. You're fantastic.
Thanks,
Kay,
man.
let people know where they can find you, brother. And
Yeah.
listen,
So
come on the show
X,
more
Twitter,
often.
Yeah, I should. K__, unfortunately, med is my Twitter. I'm doing a giveaway right now, so you guys can hop on. I'm giving away a bunch of games that will never see the light of day again because Xbox killed their studios. So got Dishonored in there, Hi-Fi Rush, and somebody's going to win that whole package. Ghostwire Tokyo, The Evil Within, all on Steam, so that hopefully you'll be able to play them forever. So check out the Twitter, K___. I'm sorry, K___med, and my shit posts are there, all day long. And if you like shit posting and you just like to have fun, it's a pretty chill Twitter account. I'm not a console warrior at this point, and I'm friends with almost everybody here on the panel, and we just have a good time.
That's right, Kay. Great to have you here, buddy. I love your takes. They're always hot takes, and honestly, I always scroll through. You make us laugh, dude. And sometimes on Twitter,
that's the whole point.
That's what it is.
It's comedy, and I don't take any of this shit too seriously. So if you want some levity, take a break from the console wars, come check out the account and have a laugh, and maybe win some games because I do giveaways. Probably a couple times a month.
No, as a Mooch, I can tell you right now, I'm already on his page, subscribing and doing what he tells me.
You can't win.
Oh, damn it! I'm always exempt. I don't know.
Mooch will always mooch, bro.
Absolutely, it doesn't matter. Someone's like, I got an extra code. I'm just like the hand just appears. Like, oh, there it is.
And hey, thanks to everybody on the panel. It was a pleasure. I'm gonna bounce. So I can spend a little time with the wife before she goes to bed. So you all have a great night.
Thank you, Kay.
Pleasure hearing you, Matt, bro.
Appreciate it, Kay.
Yep, pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Kay. The great WoolleyGamer, by the way. Wooly, listen, you made up tenfold for that. For the time you missed the last time. You definitely made up for it here, as I knew you would. And I had to have you on. You made some great rants over the past couple days on Twitter, and I said, this guy is bursting. He can't wait to get on the microphone right now. Wooly,
Facts.
awesome to have you here as always. Let people know where they can find you, and I look forward to your return, buddy.
Thank you, Mooch, bro. You all can find me at WoolleyGamer YT for YouTube. Not that my YouTube is active anymore. Gave that up once my little girl was born. But yeah, WoolleyGamer YouTube or YT is my Twitter account. And it's been awesome tonight, man. It's been awesome rocking with you all. And I know why such a high populace are from the UK on your podcast, Mooch, because the UK have a thing for the New York accent, and you've got that sports accent, bro, down to a T. Like, why you haven't been snatched up for like a commentator's role on a sports channel or something is baffles me. But that's my wife listens to you at work, and she's not a gamer because she loves you.
I can't say thank you enough. Listen, I'm waiting for my version of Ted Lasso to come over, okay? So whenever you guys want to do that and you need a baseball commentator over in the UK, I'm your guy.
Yeah.
I'm your guy.
Great.
Great, baby.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, man. It's been an absolute pleasure hanging out with everyone, and much love. And I will definitely be checking out Creative Kofi's podcast because that guy has a lot to offer.
He does.
Insight, wisdom, all that jazz. But yeah, it's been great. Thank you, bro, for having me on.
Willie, always great to have you here. And then
I'm just gutted, bro. I'm gutted we didn't discuss Assassin's Creed.
Well, that's on the list, but the thing I make the title and we didn't get to it. Listen, hey, I got news for you. That's not leaving the news. We got that on the news all the way till November. So I'm sure
I got a lot to say on that.
I had it on the list.
Yeah.
It's on the list.
Get me and Kofi back on, bro, because we want to do our boy, Yasuki justice, man.
Yeah, a couple of topics ran a little longer than I thought. I thought Hellblade. I was planning a Hellblade. I do these numbers in my head. I'm thinking Hellblade topic 30 minutes. We went almost 50. So that's kind of. I had another 8 topics. So we didn't even get to them. But Willie, great to have you on. Our great death singer from Wales, singer. I love having you on the show, man, because I know you always go around. You're like, I'm PC, but you're a gamer, buddy. You always talk games. You know everything we're talking about. You keep your ear to the ground when it comes to news. You know what's happening. You're also a cast member on one of my favorite podcasts, of course, Scumcast, with the great Ash and Luca. That's my Luca, by the way. Shout out to Luca. We miss Luca so much. And I got to say, Singer, great to have you on the show. Let people know where they can find you. And as always, I'm going to be asking you to come back on anytime soon.
Oh, I'd love to, Mooch. Thank you very much for having me back on. I mean, it's always a fun time. We had a great panel this time. We have Wooly. We have Barry, of course, the best lisp on YouTube.
Yes.
Black.
We had we had a lot of Pony Boys on here, but it's always good fun. And as Mooch said, you can find me every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Ash and Lucas channel doing Scumcast with SloMo40.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic show. So look forward to that tomorrow if you're going to go check it out.
We love Luca.
Oh, Luca is wonderful.
She really is.
She is one of the most articulate people I've come across. Like, she's got so much wisdom about her, bro.
Luca's a bot.
No. Get it right.
That's the homie.
No, Barry, you have to get it right. She's the queen bot.
Oh, yeah, the queen bot.
She's so level-headed.
My bad.
She listens to everything on an even playing field and forms her own opinion, and it's never in bad faith. It's always well thought through and balanced, and I love that girl. She's awesome. She's top.
No, great to have Death Singer here. And actually, you know what? It reminds me, I'm going to get a hold of Luca, see if we can get Luca back on the show. It'd be great to have her back on the show. I got to tell you something, Singer. It is fun to have you on, though, buddy, because you bring a different dynamic. So hopefully the 7 p.m. Eastern time on Thursdays don't hurt your schedule, because I do like having you on the show.
Oh, no, it's perfectly fine, because the way everything balances around, I'm always available at around this time, so whenever someone says, the podcast is 7 p.m. East, that's perfect. Like, if someone said, it's 9 p.m. Eastern, I'll be like, that time's a bit weird, but yeah, 7 is perfectly fine. So it's always a pleasure to cut, and I look forward to the next time when,
Absolutely. Oh, Singer, it won't be long. Trust me, buddy. Just keep an eye on the DMs. The great Jay Barry, you guys know him all too well. Jay, I got to say, outstanding show tonight. There he is, right on cue. There's the Gaming with Persona. Shout out to Persona as well. He says, great show, Mooch. Thank you, Persona. I really appreciate it. Jay, outstanding to have you on the show. I'll let you plug the show. I want to tell you guys something. Outstanding show last week, too. Really got me laughing there through especially the spotlights. I love it. I absolutely love it. Because Persona introduces you and then he already assumes you're going to break the rules, Jay. It's just the way it is. And you're like, well, of course I'm going to break the rules. Jay, let people know where they can find you. Thank you for introducing lots of gaming topics, gaming scenarios that, a lot of us really don't hear on a lot of other podcasts. But Jay, let people know where they can find you. And of course, I gotta always bother you and Persona, my New York brothers, to come on the show. I have to have you guys on. So appreciate you being here tonight, Jay. Let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. Like I said, man, appreciate the invite. It was a fun show, talking about some gaming and Hellblade 2. Hopefully, everybody that is enjoying Hellblade 2, you can complete it. It's only 5 hours. It's only 6 hours. I don't know why it's taking so long, but hey, everybody got different things going on in their life, man. But you can find me on Twitter, jbarry_, YouTube, jbarry. Me and my bro Persona, Gaming with Persona, we host a PlayStation centric podcast called What's Up PlayStation Podcast, where we talk about the latest, the greatest, the good, the bad, the ugly news of PlayStation throughout the week. And we've been doing that for 3 years, and man, we're having a great time, hosting and talking about PlayStation every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And the only reason why I'm plugging it because Mooch told me to do it.
That's right.
I know
you don't like to do that, but Jay, honestly, this is your house too, brother. You go ahead and plug that anytime you want, brother. Great to have you here.
Yeah, man. But at the end of the day, if you want to have a great game, a very captivating game, a very difficult and challenging game, a very thought-provoking game, why are you not playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? Get it together.
I ain't gonna lie, it's like one of the best games ever.
Absolutely, Kofi, talk to them, man. It's the best game to come out this year, and I feel like people are intimidated playing that game because they know once they touch that thing, it's game of the year instantly.
It's got mechanical depth, bro. Don't you know us gamers today can't handle mechanical depth? We like to play those linear, push the left stick forward, occasional one-on-one fight scene. That all kind of plays itself out in a QRT. Shout out to Post Up, man. He took a screenshot of a finisher saying it was real time, and I was like, this poor man has never seen a finisher in a video game before. Like,
listen, man. Listen, I tell people, man, Twitter is a dangerous thing because you can easily go on somebody's page and just search what they've been saying, and a lot of people, they are not telling the truth. They are lying to the people. When it comes to the game, Hellblade 2, there's some authentic thoughts about it because, like I said, I don't think the game is terrible, but it is not the sequel that everybody wanted to play this year. When it got first revealed in 2019, and all the talks about what they can do with now Microsoft backing them. You look at the things that people were saying prior to the game releasing. Now they compromised. Now they're settling for what Hellblade 2 is offering. But that's my outro, man. Appreciate it. Make sure you guys hit the like button.
Yes, please.
And subscribe to my man Mooch, man. It's good people right here. Me and Mooch, we have great history.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm just proud to see Mooch come every Thursday now hosting a PlayStation podcast.
That's right, Jay. Thank you.
He finally hit that 12.1K because he's now a PlayStation.
I've never been called that before, Jay. So I love it. I'll put it on my resume, Jay. I really will.
Absolutely. I always see Mooch on the PlayStation. Everywhere he goes, he's playing on PlayStation. He's never on the Xbox.
Never.
So yeah, man. I appreciate Mooch, man. I love to see the growth.
Thank you, Jay.
Hey, great podcast. I always enjoy Crossfire, man, because the different backgrounds or the different viewpoints that people have. It can get heated sometimes, but I like a good debate.
It's been known to happen for sure.
Hey, me and Death Singer have got on pretty well tonight. Like, I'm quite impressed. Like, since he's gone full PC,
That singer, he ain't had
No.
He ain't had no M with
tolerate.
that's why.
I didn't. No, there was nothing for me to fire back at. So on the
told
show,
you, he ain't had no M with his feet. He would get his legs beat in if he was trying to turn up.
We are in agreement.
It's not the week for turn up on Xbox, but go ahead.
Well, no, it's because I stand by my guns. I hate cinematic story during games, therefore I don't fuck with Hellblade, and I stand by my guns. Whether
and
it's
Microsoft, and he knows Microsoft have done messed up.
Well, I know Microsoft messed up. I mean, but that was the right one a year ago. But I stand by my guns.
As disappointed as I am in the sequel of Hellblade 2, I feel like people should experience it or at least try it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you never know, you might like it. But I just feel like this is just a huge disappointment. Waiting 7 years.
I think if you played the first one, Jay, you're right. I think the recommendation would be for you to try it. Definitely play the second one, right? I mean, you never know. Maybe they might like it.
Well, yeah, it's a beautiful looking game. It's just a
Absolutely
cinematic game, so I'm out. Can't miss me with that bullshit. But yeah, let me just stick to my Baldur's Gate 3, Dragon's Dogma 2, and Avowed, and those kinds of games.
Wait, you played Dragon's Dogma 2? But you didn't play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth?
No, because I play real RPGs, and that's another conversation for a different day.
Mute man, Mike.
We gotta go another hour.
This podcast another 2 hours. Now,
I was just gonna say it's gonna go another 2 hours easily.
Now I'm kicking shins.
Jay's like, hold on a second. Jay's like,
I knew it'd get right out of that. Beautiful. Lovely.
No, great to have you guys all on. Outstanding. Like you say, the different takes and different opinions is what it's all about on the show. So I appreciate you guys. Quick couple shout outs to people that stopped by the show. Really appreciate it. The great Eric Jackson, everybody. If you guys aren't following Eric Jackson, please go over and follow Eric. He's an outstanding friend. And we and him have so many conversations on gaming. It's just unbelievable. So shout out to the great Eric Jackson who stopped by tonight. And also I want to give a shout out to the great Gaming Forte who couldn't make it. Guys, Gaming Forte and SloMoBackSlap are live right now on DPS Podcast. Guys, leave here, go over there, tell them Mooch said what's up and Mooch sent you. Outstanding work that they do over there. So shout out to the great Gaming Forte and shout out to BRAP at Basement Radio Arcade Podcast _podcast. BRAP will be hopefully back in a week or two. He's got a lot of baseball games and things to take care of with family on Thursday nights. Hopefully we get BRAP back, but BRAP is live Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern. Go over and check out BRAP. Detective Seeds was on there. The great Mag and a few others were on last night. A great show. Go over and support BRAP on Wednesday nights. Again, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Guys, we'll be back next Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern here for Crossfire. If you're interested in more Mooch, more gaming, that's going to happen on Twitch this weekend. Twitch.tv, Mooch TV. Drop the O's for zeros. It's M00CHTV. Go over and subscribe over there as soon as this show's over, and go over and check out the guys on DPS. Guys, enjoy the weekend. Have a great Memorial Day weekend, and we'll see you guys next Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Peace out and good night.